Remember that frightfully nice man who talked a lot about the classless society? He had to go, of course, in the end. Everything changes. A new king, a new age of hope and peace and spiritual growth, etc. And I'm still here. For my sins.
Francis?
A little debris from the past, that's all.
The past is past, Francis. It's done.
Yes. She was so long in the air, Elizabeth.
I know. Everything you've done was for your country's good. You know that. Everything. I admire and believe in you without reserve. You know that, too.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Perhaps things have been a little bit too easy for you these last few months. You've had time to brood.
I feel becalmed, Elizabeth. I'm secure, in place. I've done all I set out to do.
Do more. Go further. Go all the way. Surprise yourself. I think that what you need is something or someone to provide you with a new challenge, to stimulate you intellectually, bring out the best in you.
Or the worst.
Let me think about it.
Something or someone.
Let me think about it. The king?
The king. Confess, I still feel a certain residual frisson. The king is a king, after all. The sherry is usually excellent, too. I do hope there won't be any changes there. One hears these rumors about chamomile tea.
Mr. Urquhart, good morning.
Good morning. I hope Sir Edgar isn't indisposed.
Sir Edgar, as I'm sure you've heard, is taking early retirement.
Yes, of course, to be sure. Then you must be the famous Miss Carmichael.
That's right.
How do you do, Miss Carmichael?
I've looked forward to meeting you, Mr. Urquhart.
And what is your job description?
I'm His Majesty's Assistant Press Secretary, working to David Mycroft.
I see. Excuse me.
The Prime Minister, sir.
Mr. Urquhart.
Your Majesty.
Come and sit down, Mr. Urquhart.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you've had more practice at this sort of thing than I have.
Perhaps, sir, but I'm sure you've had the benefit of your mother's exceptional experience and her valuable counsel, as I have myself.
Yes, she said you listened very courteously and deferentially and then went away and did exactly as you pleased. Is that how it was?
Oh, that's very good, sir. Her Majesty always enjoyed a little joke at my expense. She understood the constraints that bind us very well. We can none of us do exactly as we please. And that's probably a very good thing. I'm sure it is in my own case.
Mr. Urquhart, I want these meetings to be real meetings of minds.
But of course, sir.
If we can't be absolutely frank and open with each other, then the whole exercise is pointless.
I absolutely agree with you, sir.
Then let me ask you, what do you see as your government's priorities in the medium term, the next 3 years, say?
Consolidation, sir. I believe it's very important to hold firm to those policies which have enabled us to move out of recession into the prosperity we now enjoy.
Well, some of us enjoy it.
Yes. Some of us have always enjoyed it, I suppose. And now, happily, most of our people do.
But not all.
Believe me, sir, I understand your feelings and share in them completely. It's deeply distressing for me, personally distressing, to know that any of our people are homeless, however few. To know that any of our people should feel themselves undervalued.
Yes, yes.
And it's a terrible temptation to throw money at these problems now, borrowed money, and reap the consequences in a few years' time. I know it's painful, but I believe we must be patient.
You're a clever man, Mr. Urquhart.
You're too kind, sir. I'd rather be remembered as a wise man than a clever one. But I think that sound man is the highest praise I can expect.
I'd want to be remembered as a good man. You find that absurd?
Not at all, sir. And I'm sure you will be.
Thanks, Alistair.
Thank you. Morning, sir. Morning, Alistair.
Hello, David.
Chloe, I'm so sorry. I suppose they're at it already.
They are?
Oh, God. I am sorry. Bit of a craze at home. Now, how's Sir? Did anybody brief him?
Yes, I did. Sir's fine. Sir promised to be very good.
It's not a game, Chloe.
No, I know. I did work from your notes, David, and I think I said everything you would have said. It is okay, really.
I'm not simply talking about aesthetics, you see. This Victoria Street redevelopment is a golden opportunity to do something imaginative. Why, for example, should it have to be another bloody shoebox full of government offices?
Well, why indeed?
Why not something the whole community can enjoy? Now, I've been reading about this centre plan scheme for revivifying the inner cities. It's your environment minister's idea, Dick Cole, excellent chap.
Yes.
And you see, what I thought was that this Victoria Street thing could be a sort of pilot development for centre plan with some recreational and cultural element, something we could all take a bit of pride in, beautiful and useful, do you see, and in the very heart of London. It's just a thought.
But a very exciting one, sir. I shall certainly take it up tomorrow with the Secretary of State.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd be most grateful. I mean, let's try to achieve something, for God's sake. Let's try to get something done. I'm sorry I'm hurrying, I know, but I've waited a long time for this, and I want to get on with things. But I really do feel greatly encouraged by this conversation, Mr. Evans. David! Do you know David Mycroft, my Chief of Staff? David and I were up at Cambridge together. Chloe, I think you've met. She keeps me briefed on minority interests.
Really? All the minorities?
Some I embody, and for the others I use empathy.
I see.
Yes, well, I think we've made a jolly good start. Thank you.
No manners in the ordinary sense, no small talk, no apparent sense of irony. It's all tremendously interesting, but he wants to do this every week. He'll have to realize the Lonely Hearts Club is all very well, but I can't fritter my time away in idle chatter. I have to run the country, for one thing.
And at this rate, our royal friend's going to make that more and more like the Chief Whip's job. A pat on the head and a biscuit here, a short, sharp shock there, and a good boot up the backside were indicated.
Mr. Cole, what about centre plan? It's up to the Cabinet, not me. You'll have to wait and see, won't you?
Call's turn today, I think.
Finally, I would urge that all the indicators point to this as the ideal time to put centre plan into operation. An imaginative partnership between government initiative and the financial sector to provide a vital injection of venture capital into the inner cities. We waited a long time. We've done the groundwork. Now let's show the world what we can do.
Thank you, Secretary of State for the Environment. Chief Whip?
With all due respect to the Environment Minister's sincerity and eloquence, I've never heard a better example of what we are not about. I take it this venture capital really means a huge hike on the PSPR, loss of confidence in sterling, a run on the pound, and before we know where we are, we'll be back in 92.
That's absolute nonsense, Tim, as you well know.
Thank you, Tim. I'm sure Dick Cole appreciates your honesty as I do. Painful as it is sometimes. Yes, Hilda.
I'm afraid it sounds like good old Meals on Wheels to me, Prime Minister. Government and social work are both very useful, but they're not the same thing, you know.
Stupid woman.
Well, my sense of the meeting is that we need to give this scheme a great deal more examination before we think of moving ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that very stimulating discussion. Now, let's move on, shall we?
Vagrancy bill.
Dick, just 1 second. All right. Let's talk later, shall we? That was dreadful, Dick. I'm so terribly sorry. Look, let's go in there. Tim Stanford's such a ruffian sometimes, and Hilda Cordwinner gets more like a pit bull every day. But I'm afraid we'll just have to cut our losses for the time being. They're not ready to take centre plan on board just yet.
We'll have to cut our losses? I wasn't aware I ever had your wholehearted support, Francis.
I've always admired your talent very greatly, Dick. And speaking of that, Fletcher Carr's post at Strasbourg is coming up soon. How do you feel about that?
I'm quite content with environment, Francis.
I'm afraid that's not an option anymore, Dick. Sorry. I hope you'll decide to take the European job, Dick. It'll look so much better than a straight sacking. Let me know by noon. I'll delay the press release till then.
Go to Strasbourg. Do not pass go. Do not collect £200, and don't bloody well come back.
Jolly good. Excellent. Serve the bugger right.
Well, he never was one of our chaps, was he?
What to say, he wasn't posturing prat. Couldn't pass a mirror without preening himself. One of the suede shoe brigade. None of that lot were ever any good.
Good day's work, Francis. Excellent.
So, how did you find His Majesty?
Oh, much as expected. He wants to be of use.
Well, he is of use. He can give garden parties and open things and save us the bother of electing some god-awful president or something.
But the trouble is, he has ideas. He has a conscience. He wants to contribute. He's going to be disappointed about Victoria Street.
Bob Capes has paid up like a good un, Francis, as always. And it's not as if his buildings fall down or something. Shoeboxes or not. He deserves our continuing support.
Well, there we are. Capes and his shoebox it is. Secretary of State for the Environment can't intervene because we've just sacked him. I'll break the news gently to His Majesty. He's not going to be pleased. Look, Tim, you remember that little insurance scheme we talked about?
The Regal Insurance. Want me to rattle the bars of Princess Charlotte's cage?
I think we might see if we could get a policy drawn up. Will you look into it?
My pleasure, Prime Minister.
Why does he do it?
He doesn't think it's real unless it hurts. He went to one of those schools. So did I. I think the only time he was really happy was when he was at university. Just having friends and talking. You're using him, aren't you?
Yes. I'm pushing black and Asian causes every chance I get. What's wrong with that? He knows I'm using him. He likes it. After all, he's using me for my brains, my fabled street cred. Everybody uses everybody, David. That's what the whole thing is.
Not for me. I just want to take care of him now.
Why don't you go home? It's getting late.
Why don't you? He'll probably stay up all night. Might want to talk in the early hours.
Has he sent out for anyone?
Hardly ever does that now.
Would you do that? If you could send out for anyone and they felt duty-bound to come, would you do that? Who would you send for?
You're very young, aren't you?
Yeah.
Call for Strasbourg. Strasbourg posting Cook Sticks Goose. PM says F.U. Dick.
Dear, dear.
Once again, Francis Urquhart has shown himself to be as tough as Margaret Thatcher in her prime, while for ruthlessness he has set a standard of his own. His FU stance towards opponents would be an admirable one in wartime, but we question its appropriateness in a Europe still fumbling towards unity, and in a Britain growing daily stronger, but still blighted by appalling poverty and unemployment.
Well, we can't please everyone.
Don't be too sure. Secretly, they all want to be dominated.
I'm not a brute, Elizabeth, just a plain, no-nonsense, old-fashioned Tory.
Yes, of course you are. Oh, by the way, I think I may have found you something interesting.
It's simpler than that. You just pose the question. If their services were not provided by the state, would we pay our own real money for them?
Huh?
Doctors, yes, of course. Teachers, maybe, some of them selectively. Social workers? See, what we should do is let them practice like solicitors. Put up a brass plate and wait for clients. I think a surprising number of families would realize they could run their own lives after all. Let the free market determine what we need.
Do we need opinion pollsters? That's what you are, isn't it?
People seem to think I'm worth the money.
Get the answers wrong, though, don't you?
I can get you any answers you like, Mr. Stamper. That's why I'm in such demand.
Jolly good. Sign her up, Jim. Sign her up.
Bonsoir. J'espère que vous êtes bien amusés. Merci beaucoup, madame. Mrs. Harding, don't leave just yet. Could I have a little word? We were so pleased you were able to come this evening.
I passed then, did I?
Yes. Oh, I think yes. Francis, my husband, was wondering if you might be free to come in for a private conversation tomorrow morning at 11.
Could I ask what this is all about?
He'll tell you that himself. I will tell you that you are being considered for a unique position, and that you are the only candidate under consideration at present. I think you'll find it to your advantage to attend.
You certainly make it all sound very interesting.
We find you very interesting, Mrs. Harding. Yes. Yes. I really do think that you might be the one.
You moved from an academic post at Cambridge to work for a polling company. Why was that? Money?
Partly. I wanted to see whether it was true that you can get any result you want from a poll by massaging the questions.
And?
It's true. You can make people say anything you want them to say. But you can't make people do anything you want them to do. You can never be absolutely sure of people, can you?
No. How do you rate the performance of this government, Mrs. Harding?
Extremely effective. By not seeking the approval of all of the people all of the time, you've put yourself in a very strong position. You've got 46% of the people, and that means you can afford to ignore the rest. And you do. The opposition has no chance because it's got no power base. Most of the underclass aren't even registered to vote. You've virtually destroyed the two-party system.
Good. Did you write in The Economist that Francis Urquhart is like the shark? He has to keep moving forwards to stay alive.
Not a very flattering simile, I'm sorry.
Well, better a shark than a sheep, I suppose. Would you be interested in becoming my slave?
What?
My slave, Mrs. Harding.
I'm not interested in becoming anybody's slave.
I see you're not familiar with the term. I want an assistant. The job won't have any formal title, political consultant, political advisor, what you will. If I can put it bluntly, you have a remarkable brain, and I should like to plunder it. I should like to have free and constant access to your thinking, Sarah.
I see. I'm flattered.
Shall we say a 6-month appointment initially? Your salary would be guaranteed. But either of us could terminate the relationship at any time.
I'm interested in looking at power close up. I want to understand the way it works.
You know the way it works, Sarah. It tends to corrupt. And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
There's no such thing as absolute power.
If you work for me, you'll give me your absolute allegiance.
I'm not really sure why I'm saying this, but I'm very much in love with my husband.
Good.
We're trying for a baby. I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything that had the slightest chance of endangering my marriage.
That is just as I would wish it.
I'd like to accept your offer. I won't be your slave, but I'm very interested in learning what you have to teach me.
And vice versa, Mrs. Harding. Vice versa.
I still can't get used to the idea. I mean, it's rather as if you'd come home and said, I'm going to work for Richard III or Captain Hook. I mean, what's he like really? Is he real?
Oh, yes, I think he's real, all right. It was odd. Intellectually, he didn't seem to be anything remarkable. I think it must be his will or something. It's as if he carries his own force field around with him. Hard to describe. There's something not very nice about him, actually. But interesting.
Politicians aren't interesting. They're disgusting. Politics is disgusting. All that naked ambition.
Not like us, eh?
No, not like us.
Well, good. You don't mind me working for him?
Not a bit of it. Dine out on it.
I thought you were going back to Cambridge tonight.
No, I thought I'd hit 6:40 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are such nice shorts.
User-friendly.
Is she clean? Oh, she's squeaky clean. A bit too clean, almost. An academic family. Oxford. Starred first in PPE. Met the husband. He's a mathematician turned economics don. Supposed to be brilliant. Aren't they all? No, we couldn't turn up a single smelly patch.
Well, that's just what we hoped, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I just prefer it when it's the other way round, when we've got something on people. But then I'm an awful cynic.
Thank you, Corder.
Afternoon, Mrs. Edwards.
You know, sometimes I wonder about Corder.
Corder's fine. He's actually getting quite keen on Scholte's Goethe Dämmerung. Oh, talking of Kearns and Gallo glasses, how's Stamper?
Stamper's fine. Stamper's setting up our regal insurance. He's rattling the bars of Princess Charlotte's cage even now.
How far have they got then?
God knows.
It's this one, Mummy.
Christ. Thank you, darling.
Oh, hello, Stamper. Your Highness. This is very pleasant. Delightful occasion.
Yes, and they've let me hang on to the odd thing here and there. This children's choral thingy. Do you know Quilly?
No, I don't think I do, actually.
Lord Quillington, Mr. Stamper.
How do you do, sir?
There. That's that done.
May I introduce Sir Bruce Bullaby, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of the Clarion?
Yes, I know who that is. And I've got nothing to say to him.
All right, Highness, I'm here to build bridges, mend fences, let bygones be bygones.
Sir Bruce has a proposal which I think you'll find is very much to your advantage, ma'am.
No, that's not on, actually. Look, would you kindly mind telling your friend to bugger off?
Might be better if others leave as well.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's best, probably. Just you and me and Quilly.
No. Just you and me, I think.
But I tell Quilly everything.
I think when you hear what I have to say, you understand. Believe me. Just 5 minutes.
Quilly, will you be an angel? He's amazing, isn't he? You still like to see me. I know that. But not. Why not? It's free. Oh, come on, Stamper. I'm listening.
After your divorce, the family made a financial settlement on you.
Yes, they did, and jolly mingy one, too.
Ah, quite. It wasn't done from affection or compassion, was it? They were purchasing your silence, your good behavior. There's a story you could tell. Not only the intimate details of your own life, but also the lives of others. It would be such a sensational story that you could ask any price for it you cared to name. And it would almost certainly bring down the monarchy. Yes?
Yeah. Right, I suppose.
Why didn't you go ahead and do it?
I couldn't do that to her.
The Queen?
And they said that if I did, I'd have a very bad accident.
Ah. And you believed it?
Yes, I did.
I think you were wise. But the problem remains. Your allowance is not enough to cover your expenses. Wardrobe, travel, other things. Bruce Bullaby wants to help you.
Little shit. He wants to help me.
You misjudge him. Look, he'll buy your story for the sake of history and bury it for the period of your lifetime. In return, he'll pay you £100,000 in cash each year. I have the initial 50,000 with me here today.
Really? Well, come on, Stamper. Let's have a look at it.
There is something else. He wants to get to know you better. He wants to be your friend.
He wants to be my friend? What for?
You really do misjudge him, you know. He genuinely admires you. He's a fan. And he admires you as a woman, too, if you follow me. Oh, he's not so repulsive when you get to know him.
Like you, then. All right, Stamper. You're on.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Chloe. And how are you today?
I'm fine.
Of course you are. A delightful young woman, that, sir. What? Miss Carmichael, your minorities advisor?
Yes. She's very keen. I'm extremely disappointed about Victoria Street, Edgar.
I decided it would be improper to intervene, sir. All the procedures had been scrupulously observed. Much as we might wish to, even when we know best, we can't subvert the democratic process on purely aesthetic grounds, I'm afraid.
Well, they're not purely aesthetic grounds, man. I was talking about social considerations, human considerations. Whether this country is here to be carved up and sold off for personal gain, or whether it's developed sensitively as a resource for the people who live in it. I'm extremely disappointed, Urquhart. I think it's a disgrace. I have very considerable doubts about what you call the democratic process in this case. In fact, I suspect the whole thing was a bloody rant.
Do you mind if we walk a little more slowly, sir? My legs are not as young as yours.
Yes, of course. Sorry.
And there wasn't any bloody rant, as you put it. All the decisions were made in good faith. It may be that the investigation placed too much emphasis on getting value for money, but that's what it's there for. If they made a wrong decision, it was from the best possible motives. It may be that we need to look at the basic criteria again.
Oh, yes, I think we do. Look here, Urquhart. I have to make a speech in 10 days' time to the charitable foundations, and I thought I might raise a few questions of principle in that.
About the visual environment?
No. Well, that too, of course, but broader, do you see? I want to talk about the wastage of human resources as well as natural resources, about the divisions in our country, north and south, rich and poor, hope and despair, and what we can do about it. Well, you know what I'm talking about. You must be desperately concerned about it as I am.
Yes, indeed. I take it you've written this speech already, sir?
Yes, Chloe Carmichael's just drawn up a final draft for my approval.
Perhaps you could let me have a copy so that my people can check the detail for you and the tone.
You proposing to censor my speech, Prime Minister?
Good Lord, no, sir. Just making sure we're all pulling on the same rope.
But isn't that tantamount to demanding my silence and complicity? I won't have that, Urquhart.
All I'm saying, sir, is that in a constitutional monarchy, the sovereign cannot be seen to be publicly opposing his own government. It is very important that you understand that, sir.
Well, of course I understand it. I'm not a bloody fool, man. But I want you to understand that I am absolutely determined to exercise an influence on what is done by my government in my name. I'll have a copy of the draft by the end of the day.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Strong words, but I'm afraid we can't allow it. If he thinks that being king gives him the right to say what he likes, he is a bloody fool.
Spoke to me as ever a bloody child, David. I will not be patronized. I lost my temper with him. That was bad.
Well, not necessarily, sir. It might have done a lot of good. Warning shot across the bows.
I didn't feel like that. I felt more like a baby strapped in a high chair having a tantrum. Bloody man. He's perfectly sincere, of course. I mean, he's got the country good at heart. It's just that he has no vision, no imagination. Who the hell with him? He won't be here forever. What's tomorrow, David?
Guy's Hospital. Dinner with the Royal Astronomical Association.
Now, that's good. You know, that's a good day. What's the matter?
It's nothing really, just a little local problem.
Come on, I want to know.
Fiona and I have decided to separate. Well, she's decided that we should. She's probably right.
You know what I think? I think you're better off without her.
Sorry, sir. You startled me.
I saw the light. I didn't think anyone would still be here. Have you no home to go to, Claire?
I love this job, sir. Look. Here's a nice one. This is the third letter we've got from these people. All this work they did themselves.
And what do they want?
Nothing, sir. I think they just wanted to say hello.
Wow. I've been looking at that speech again. David thinks it's too radical. He thinks I should soften it. What do you think?
I think it's fine, sir. It says what needs saying. It says what a lot of people feel. My view is go for it, especially since the opposition seem incapable of getting their act together at the moment.
Yeah, it's good. Right. Thank you, Claire.
Sarah, could you possibly come round now? I need to take your mind on something. I'm in my townhouse. We won't be disturbed here. What do you think of His Majesty's prose style?
It's very naive.
Well...
Are we not crushing the hopes of our young people? Are we not in danger of condemning large numbers of our black and Asian fellow citizens to deprivation and disaffection? A marginalized life on the fringes of our increasingly prosperous economy?
Oh, dear. It's sad stuff, isn't it?
Thank you. Surely it is still not too late to seek a better way to temper economic rigor with a little more respect for human values.
Where does he get it from?
Actually, what it is a coded plea for the old-fashioned welfare state and that whole debilitating culture of dependency. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Socialism's collapsed all over the world, and now the King of England's proposing to revive it.
Oh, that's very good. Very well put.
What on earth is he up to?
He's a good-hearted man who's being manipulated. That's my view. We can't allow him to expose himself to ridicule, or worse than ridicule. He deserves better than that.
So, you're going to stop him making the speech? Can you do that?
I wouldn't dream of doing that. We'll just fine-tune it. That's where I'd like your help, Sarah. I want you to take out all the interesting bits and substitute something warm and dry instead. Even one or two mildly abrasive phrases, if you like. Enterprise culture, grassroots initiative, bootstraps, fingers out. You know, the sort of thing his father was so fond of. Could you bear to do that, do you think?
Delighted. Piece of cake. How soon do you want it?
If I said by midnight, would that give you enough time?
Yes, all right.
These days, an hour can be a long time in politics.
Sorry, what?
I was wondering, are you looking for business?
No, sorry.
Is he bothering you, love? Yeah, he is.
Look, she approached me.
Yeah, right.
Members only, I'm afraid, sir.
It's all right, John. I'll sign him in.
Right, sir.
Thanks very much.
You look as if you've had a bit of a rough day, my friend.
Yes, I have. Thanks very much. You're very kind.
I had my moments. Can I buy you a drink?
No. Let me. Oh, God. I was robbed just now. They got my wallet. That sounds so implausible.
No, I believe you. The state of you when you came through that door, you looked as if the hounds of hell were after you.
I suppose I should report it.
Yeah, have a drink first. Get your priorities right. Scotch, I should say, yes?
Yes, thank you.
John?
Sir?
Another large one.
Yes.
My name's Ken. Ken Charterhouse.
David Mycroft.
Nice to meet you, David.
Very good. Yes. Good. Just what I wanted from you. A surgical emasculation.
I've totally distorted his message, you know. Won't he be furious?
Well, perhaps he will, but he has to learn. People wouldn't take kindly to a man with 3 Bentleys lecturing them on inequality.
No, quite. Well, I enjoyed that.
Good.
But I think I could help you in more important ways. Sorry if that sounds presumptuous.
There's a lot more in your remarkable brain for me to plunder, is there?
I hope so, yes.
Yes, I thought there might be.
Come on in. Come on. Liz over there. I'll make a cup of tea, right?
Listen, I want to say this. I realized tonight my house stinks of failure and despair. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do, David.
My house stinks of 20 years of failure and despair. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do. You poor old bugger. You really need a bit of TLC, don't you?
Look, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I've never... Well, not since school.
Okay. Relax. Nothing's going to happen if you don't want it to. We can just cuddle if you like. Hmm?
Yes. Yes, I like that.
Daddy. I want to call you Daddy.
Mattie, can I trust you?
You know you can.
Can I trust you?
You know you can.
Damn the man. How dare he take my words and mangle them to suit his own purposes?
I suppose because he thinks he can get away with it, sir.
Bloody arrogance of him. Well, I'm not going to stand up and spout this pap.
I don't think you need to, sir, and I don't think you should.
Where's David Mycroft?
He's not in yet, sir.
What do you think I should do, Clay?
I think you should deliver tonight's speech as written, sir.
Yes, so do I. Right. A sham.
And I think you should allow it to be known the government tried to gag you and it didn't work.
Well, no, I couldn't authorize anything like that.
But it is the truth, sir, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it damn well is. Are we not crushing the hopes of our young people? Are we not in danger of condemning large numbers of our black and Asian fellow citizens to deprivation and disaffection, a marginalized life on the fringes of our increasingly prosperous economy? Surely it is still not too late to seek a better way, to temper economic rigor with a little more respect for human values. And isn't it time to say now? Now, not tomorrow. Now, something must be done.
Something must be done. There, in his first public speech since the coronation, the king making it quite clear that he's going to be his own man with his own voice, and that voice full of liberal and even radical...
Something must be done. Well, well.
Something will be done. It seems I've seriously underestimated our royal friend.
Will the Prime Minister tell the House whether he agrees that it is still not too late to seek a better way? To temper economic rigor with a little more respect for human values? And if he doesn't agree, why he feels so threatened by these words that he seeks to censor them out of existence? Far be it from me to censor anyone. Even the leader of the opposition in his most long-winded and tedious vein. And I'm afraid I must remind him that the people of this country have over and over again voted for what they correctly see is a better way. Economic rigor with a great respect for human values, notably the values of courage, independence, tenacity, and honest old-fashioned hard work. If the right honourable gentleman were to espouse those values, he might find himself a little bit more popular. Well, that was all very enjoyable. But I think now it's gloves-off time at the palace, don't you? I must ask you, sir, did you authorize the leaking of those documents to the press?
Of course not.
Not in so many words, but you knew about it, did you not?
Who the hell do you think you are interrogating me like this?
The leak came from the palace. I'm afraid I must ask that you instigate an investigation into how it happened, or allow my people to come in and do it for you.
Well, I will do no such thing, Mr. Urquhart.
Was it Mycroft or the black girl? Well, we shall find out sooner or later. The point is, this can't go on. We can't be seen to be at loggerheads. It could be very damaging for the Crown.
Or the government? Or yourself personally?
I want you to instruct your press secretary to issue a statement explaining that there is no rift between us, and that your speech merely expressed general humanitarian concerns that were fully in accord with your government's current policies.
Don't try to bully me, Mr. Urquhart. I'm very familiar with the tactic, and I react very violently to it. I don't want to make an enemy of you, but you're asking me to deny my own beliefs, or to pretend that I didn't mean what I clearly did and do mean. I can't do that. I won't do that.
Your Majesty, as a private man, you may entertain any beliefs you like, and I will be happy to listen to them at our weekly conversations. But as the monarch, you have no beliefs, or shall we say, no personal political convictions, not in public.
I know what you're saying. I know that constitutionally you're quite correct. I know that you think your policies are the best for the nation, not just the rich, the strong, and the greedy.
Well, I'm glad you recognize that, sir. Thank you.
But I can't agree with you. And I don't believe the people are still behind you. The nation is desperate for a change of heart, man. You've practically abandoned Wales and Scotland. Thousands of Englishmen are living in cardboard boxes under bridges. I cannot believe that people are still behind such brutally uncompromising hard-right policies.
Well, sir, perhaps you'll be proved right. I had been thinking of going to the country again. You've helped me make my mind up. You see, you do have some influence after all. I would be grateful, though, if you allowed me to announce it myself. I'd rather it wasn't leaked.
You'll excuse me now, sir. It's been a long day, and we have weekend guests at Chequers. Your Majesty. Sarah, it's Francis Urquhart. I need to use your brains, Sarah.
Well, good. When?
A car will pick you up in 10 minutes and take you to Chequers. I may be delayed, but I need you there as soon as possible.
All right.
I looked around. Luckily, Marjorie was there, thank God. And I said, please get me out of this one. I'm proud. And
I'm afraid I have to go out. Sorry.
Oh, dear.
He was difficult then.
He was. In fact, I think we have a new leader of the opposition, Elizabeth.
Break him, Francis. Bring him down.
I'll bring a lot of them down if I have to.
Good.
It had to be done. It's in the past. It's over. You understand that? Yes.
I think everyone's here now, Francis. I put Mrs. Harding in the garden room. Is that all right?
Yes, anywhere that's convenient. I shall want to take her mind in private later.
I rather thought you might. Shall we go down?
Who is she, Stamper? What's she doing here?
Her name is Sarah Harding Gropin. I imagine she's just here to help, as we all are, bringing her brains to the aid of the party.
You think she's got anything on under that dress?
Oh, for God's sake, Gropin, I have no idea. I thought you were here to talk about education, not underwear.
Introduce me.
She's here to work.
Who for? Oh, you, I suppose, you lucky sod.
Our leader, actually.
Oh.
I'll certainly let him know you're interested.
Oh, Lord.
Mrs. Harding. I didn't expect to see you here.
It's quite a heavyweight gathering, isn't it? Half the cabinet and their wives.
Some of them are enormous. Yeah.
I mean, look at them all. Press barons, spin doctors, economists, professors. I got dragged out of a dinner party at 10 minutes' notice. What's it all about?
No doubt he'll tell you if he thinks you need to know.
You don't know either, do you?
I've got everyone you asked for, have you?
Good. All our people.
What's it about?
All in good time, Tim. Thank you all for coming here this evening. Some of you at very short notice. You will all, by now, have read or seen His Majesty's speech to the Charities Commission, which was widely, and I believe correctly interpreted, as a direct criticism of this government and its policies. I need hardly tell you how deeply this has wounded me personally, to such an extent that I thought very seriously about tendering my resignation. But I decided that to do so would be wrong.
We are His Majesty's government, but we are more than that. We are the elected government of the British people, and our deepest responsibility is to them. I now believe that my only honourable course in the face of this opposition is to call a general election. Go again to the people and say, here we stand, this is what we have done, and this is where we are going. Will you continue to give us your trust? Thank you. I feel greatly encouraged. I will be taking soundings throughout this evening, beginning with the inner cabinet. And I would like to emphasize that everything you've heard and everything you hear at Chequers this weekend is to be regarded as absolutely confidential. Thank you all very much. It'll leak, of course. It's probably leaking already. Half the people in this room are on a retainer from one ghastly rag or another. That fool Broken, for instance, is the only reason he was asked. These days, a nice controlled leak is absolutely the best way to announce anything. Did you enjoy my little speech? I thought my deep personal wound was a rather good touch. I am, in fact, extremely angry with His Majesty, and I intend to do him harm. I feel exhilarated. Prospect of a fight, of course, with the odds unfairly weighted in my favour. Next to a small war, there's nothing quite like a general election to stiffen the sinews and summon up the blood.
Stamper wants to know the batting order.
I'm sure he does. All right, he can be first. He'll only sulk if he isn't. Stamper, Stoker, Hetherington, Chalcott. No one else to pad up at present.
May I make a suggestion, Francis?
Of course.
It's about Stamper.
Make him party chairman.
Yes. He'll want more later.
Don't you feel his thuggish skills are rather wasted in high offices of state? Putting a bit of stick about and frightening people, that's Stamper's forte.
Hardly the point, Francis. He'll want more, and he'll think he deserves more.
He'll take what he's given. That's the beauty of Stamper. He's loyal and he knows his place.
I think he aspires to yours one day, Francis. I think he sees himself as your successor.
Yes. Perhaps he does. Do you know, it's strange. I can't imagine anyone taking my place.
Nobody could.
Party chairman? I was thinking Carling.
Carling's a loose cannon. There's no comparison. You know that. You can deliver me a landslide. No one else could do that.
Thank you, F.U. It's good to have one's qualities appreciated. Of course, I shall be honoured and delighted to serve as party chairman.
What is it, Tim? You know you're the right man. And I give you my word of honour, it shan't go unrewarded. Do this right, and you can have anything you want that's in my power to give you. Tell me what you want, Tim.
Whatever you think is right for me, F.U. And don't worry, I'll sort this one out for you. And we'll do it right. We'll kick the living shit out of them.
Thank you, Tim.
There have been widespread rumours of a growing rift between Downing Street and the Palace, following a speech by the King to the Charities Commission, which appeared to be sharply critical of government policies. An opinion poll commissioned by The Times and to be published in tomorrow's edition indicates a broad range of support for the views expressed by His Majesty. This report...
Sir?
Chloe, was it you who leaked my speech and Urquhart's censored version to the press?
Yes, sir.
After I expressly told you that I couldn't authorize it?
Yes.
Well, I thought you should know that I won't be taking any disciplinary action. The country had a right to know how Francis Urquhart was trying to muzzle me, and in this particular instance, I'm very grateful you saw fit to act independently, but I wouldn't like you to make a habit of it.
I don't intend to, sir.
On the other hand, I wouldn't like you to be afraid to take the initiative when you, if you were to, should you sense very strongly that that was what was needed, as it were.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, sir.
I've been thinking that we might follow up the speech with something a little more wide-ranging, perhaps on television. What do you think?
I think you should.
Well, let's take some soundings. Is David still here? Would you send him in?
He went home early. Touch of flu.
Right. Thank you, Clay.
I feel completely irresponsible. I ought to go home, really, if only for some clean shirts.
Well, where mine?
I keep remembering all these things I should be doing. And I don't bloody well care.
That suits you, you know. Look, we're going over again next week. Come.
Where?
Japan. You'll love it. I'm amazed you've never been. Look, 5 days stopover. I can get you a cheap ticket, upgrade you to first. Champagne all the way. I'll show you Japan.
Oh, I'd love to. But I think I've had as much sudden life change as I can cope with for the moment. You're not upset?
No, just a thought. There'll be plenty of other chances.
Good. I couldn't at the moment anyway, really. Too much going on at work.
Really? I thought you were a civil servant.
Well, only in a sense. I'm actually press secretary and chief of staff at Buckingham Palace.
Bloody hell.
Quite. Actually, I should be there now.
Well, I'm very flattered, David.
I love you.
Who is it?
Sarah, I'm so sorry. I've kept you waiting so long, but I'm afraid it was unavoidable.
Yes, I can understand that. But I'm not really very happy about my role in all this. In fact, I can't quite see why you got me down here at all. I don't see why you make such a big point about how urgent and vital it is that I abandon my plans for the whole evening when you must have realized you wouldn't get around to me till nearly midnight.
Sometimes I act on instinct, Sarah. My instinct was that I might need your particular talents immediately, and that in any case I needed you to be available.
What for?
For your intelligence, your expertise, and your political acumen, naturally. What else?
I have been given the distinct impression this evening, not least by your wife, that my presence here has more to do with my body than my brains.
Oh? Really?
Yes, really. I mean, why all this bogus secrecy? Why, for example, do you have to see me in my bedroom? Why can't you see me wherever it is you see everyone else?
Sometimes it's better if people get the wrong impression, see you not as a potential political rival, but as something less threatening.
And perhaps it appeals to your vanity, too.
Yes, perhaps it does. And it may satisfy yours to know that I do find you a very attractive woman. I find your cast of mind unusually attractive, to be precise. But I take very seriously what you said to me about your marriage at our first interview. And more to the point, I have more important things in mind at the moment. Now, how damaging would you say this new poll in the Times is, and what can we do to counter it?
Well, it is very encouraging for the king. But the questions were designed to elicit sympathetic answers. Has he a right to express an opinion? Is it time for a more caring Britain? And so on. Whereas, if you phrased it, should the king be allowed to intervene or even interfere in party politics, you'd get a very different response. Suppose we ask, should we get the country into economic shape before embarking on expensive public spending programs? Yeah, we'd get a good result. Anything to do with strong leadership. Does Britain need strong leadership? Is Francis Urquhart a strong leader? I mean, I could deliver you a poll that says Francis Urquhart is overwhelmingly the best man to lead us into the next century, and that His Majesty should shut up and mind his own business. Nothing simpler.
Good. Very good. Set it up, will you? We'll get it in one of the broadsheets. Tim Stamper's going to late tackle a few selected editors, so we should have a choice. No announcement of the election yet. There will be rumours, of course. Get them jumping this way and that. The King's the unknown quantity. I don't know what the man wants. You'd think he'd be happy to wave from the balcony and keep his opinions to himself after all the nonsense his family have got up to. God knows what he thinks he's doing.
Perhaps he's just a man of principle.
I'm afraid you may be right. But if he pursues the course he's embarked on, he'll destroy himself.
Would you really bring down the monarchy if you could, if you had to?
Bring down the monarchy? No. The idea is abhorrent to me. But to force the abdication of a particular king, that has been done before. And if the country's good required it of me, I wouldn't shrink from it. I dare do all that may become a man, Sarah. How would you assess my chances of success? If I found it necessary to take that course, do you think I'd get away with it?
You're seriously asking me?
I wouldn't be wasting your time or mine if I weren't serious, Sarah.
I think you could get away with anything if you put your mind to it.
Thank you, Sarah. Certainly not. You quite misunderstand. The brain is not a sexual organ. And this government is founded on family values. Besides, a Prime Minister simply doesn't have the time.
All I said was, if he's so remarkably incisive and bold in his thinking, and I'm not trying to cast doubt on it, if he's so all that, then it would just be a bit more illuminating if you could remember one or two of the bold and incisive things that impressed you so much, that's all.
What's the matter with you? Why are you being like this?
I'm not being like anything. Since you don't seem to find anything worth talking about anymore except your new consultancy, I'm just trying to take an interest. I'm just trying to get on the wavelength, that's all. I'm sure it is all very interesting. Tell me all about it. Give me all the inside dirt.
Well, I can't. You must see that. It's all very, very confidential.
I'm your husband, remember?
Yes, and this is a public restaurant. Anybody could be listening.
That's right. I thought I saw Stella Rimington over there by the window.
Oh, don't be so stupid.
I don't like being called stupid.
I'm sorry. Look, why don't we just talk about something else?
You see, what I can't help finding a bit irritating is your assumption of this inviolable, insiderish stance. Now, actually, it's more than an assumption. It's actually a parade. I mean, I would be perfectly happy to know nothing whatsoever about your new job, except that you find it impossible to focus on anything else but your thrilling new secrets that nobody else except you is allowed to know anything about, that's all.
Andrew, that is so childish.
Now, God.
Is she proving satisfactory?
Yes, full of bright ideas. A little arrogant. Very insistent about the value she puts on her marriage. She would never do anything to endanger it, she tells me.
Very right and proper. Rather rare these days. Refreshing, really.
Yes. On the other hand, she's interested in learning everything I can teach her.
Talking of marriage, good, bad, and broken, had you thought of paying a visit to the House of Wounded Feelings? Might be rather useful.
Yes. Of course, we hope to solve these little differences with the King, but good. Good, Elizabeth. Good morning. The rival court. Sloane Castle, as the tabloids like to call it. And if the world should hear about my visit, where's the harm? Such a shame I always feel to take sides after a divorce. And how one's heart goes out to the child. Such an important child, too, in this particular case. He needs to feel that somebody cares about him, and so does his mother.
Monsieur.
Your Royal Highness.
So, how is F.U.?
I think he's a bit disappointed in you,
Really? Really? Oh, I think that's most unfair. What's he going to be disappointed about? Matter of fact, I was a little disappointed myself. You know perfectly well we've given you stronger and more consistent support than any other quality newspaper. I personally have given my all. I tell you, it's been hell keeping those bloody bishops at bay. And then to see that devious little squirt Dicky Duckham shaking his K about all over the Garrick. Sir Richard wonders whether Mr. Brynford Jones would care to join him for a glass of port. It's galling, Tim. It's very galling.
Afternoon, Tim. Afternoon, Brian.
Afternoon, Sir Bruce.
Oh, Bobby. There's another case in point. Vile man.
Pitbull's bitten quite a few legs in the horse, Brian.
Hmm.
So you think you deserve a knighthood too, do you?
Yes, I damn well do. Well, I've got to being handed out to people like Dickie Duckham and Bruce Bullaby. I feel rather let down.
If you feels rather let down, Brian, if you would like to see a much stronger line on royal interference, if you tends to feel you should stop pissing about and get behind the government.
Yes, well, you have to understand it's a very delicate business. One doesn't like to mount blatant attacks on the monarchy and the nation's principal organ of record.
I'm not asking for blatant attacks, Brian. Just strong, unequivocal support for this administration. Nothing too delicate about that. If you'll forgive my being frank, I'll tell you what is a delicate business. Getting a knighthood for a convicted flasher. Now that is a delicate business.
How did you know about that? Now look, that was complete nonsense, a stupid mistake. I believe it was 15 years ago, for God's sake. Nobody remember it now.
I have to contradict you there, Brian. I remember it vividly. Just the sort of thing that does stick in one's memory. Brian Brentford Jones had to be dragged off the Inverness sleeper for waving his willy at a woman on the platform. And innocent you may have been, I think you pleaded guilty at the time, am I?
My lawyers told me to. It was my word against hers. I could have fought the case for a year and still lost, with every newspaper in the country giving me a mellowing. But it was. I just got a couple of inches in a local rag.
Just a couple of inches, eh? Well. The Sterling Evening Advertiser, that's what I know. Don't worry, Brian. I'm a notorious snapper-up of unconsidered trifles, but I'm very discreet. At least I can be. I'd hate to think what Dickie Duckham would do with it. Or the Pitbull, indeed.
Yes, well, I take your point entirely, Tim. I think I can promise you our full cooperation.
Thank you, Brian. And I think we might be able to surmount our difficulties over the elusive pay.
Oh, you're very good, Tim. Life does sometimes seem remarkably like crawling through a tunnel of excrement. Don't you find?
Yes. And trust it's all in a good cause. There. How could it be otherwise?
Beef Wellington. Takes you back, doesn't it? I think I'll have it.
Me too.
Well, thanks for coming, all of you, at such short notice. His Majesty's asked me to stress a couple of things at the start. Firstly, that this is an informal but completely confidential conversation. And secondly, that despite appearances to the contrary, it shouldn't be in any way construed as a political gathering.
Well, naturally, perish the thought.
Well, what I felt, you see, was that as individuals, I mean, yes, Mr. Stroud's the leader of the opposition, Baroness Crosscrow, Liverpool Peer, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Earl sit on the government backbenches, but are, I gather, known for independent views. You see, if I may be frank with you, I am absolutely exhausted and dispirited by the narrowness, the pettiness, the sheer lack of humanity and decency in what passes for political debate in this country. And I was hoping that if we could metaphorically take off the various official hats we wear, we'd be able to explore areas of common ground in which we might sow the seeds of hope for some sort of renewed life, do you see?
Well, could I say, sir, that whilst I feel there is a great deal of common ground around this table, and I'm most encouraged by your initiative, with the best will in the world, I don't see how any seeds of hope are going to flower as long as the present government remains in power and the present Prime Minister at number 10.
Oh, come on.
Well, I'm sorry, but I have to be honest. My policy has to be to oppose Urquhart and defeat him at the polls. Now, that said, I'm happy to talk about the meaning of life with anyone until the cows come home.
That's exactly the sort of attitude I wanted to get away from, man. I mean, don't you see how much damage has been done already, how divided we are, how polarized? And surely exploring the meaning of life should be central in everything we do, shouldn't it? Not relegated to a leisure activity, something to be done after the real business of the world is over. But yes, of course, I invite you all to dinner. Now, do please order anything you like. Don't let me put you off. I find that after passing these wretched people in the streets, I have very little appetite this evening, so just a little soup and some bread for me, if you would, please. And some water.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Yes, an excellent idea, sir. I think I'll do that too. Simple and good.
Yes, I'll just have the soup as well.
Ah, yes. The soup, please.
And anything else, sir?
No, just the soup.
I'll have the soup. Just the soup. The soup.
The soup. 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 Fine.
You know, I think I might have that drink after all.
Bloody good idea.
Don't worry. No one we know. Come in.
You all right, sir?
Yes, of course. Corder. The usual thing, I take it.
All the familiar hallmarks. They are bastards.
Absolutely. But quite convenient timing for us. You have someone in mind?
There's a group we've been watching, yes.
And they're guilty?
Well, they qualify. Put it this way, it's what they're in London for.
Excellent, Corder. Let's give their mothers something to cry about, shall we?
Right. Fine.
Yes.
Francis?
Sarah.
Sorry, is this all right?
Yes, of course.
Are you all
Right, I was worried.
Not a scratch, I'm fine.
But thank you for your concern.
Well, good night then.
Come round.
Now?
What for?
Because I want to see you.
Why, you're exceptionally busy.
No.
I'll send a car round.
I've got to go out, Andrew.
Okay.
Sorry, it's work, you know.
Yes, fine.
Francis, I got here as soon as I could.
Good of you, Tim, but there was no need. Everything's fine, as you see. You go on off to the hospital.
We need to talk, if you... Linford Jones went belly up, no problem. He was hinting about a knighthood, but he'll be good in the short term. Oh, and Bruce Bullerby is very chuffed with the Fat Princess. No problem there either, apparently.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim.
Everyone's heard the election rumour, but nobody knows when it's going to be, or even if for certain.
Fine.
When I say nobody, I include myself. I have to know. I am the bloody party chairman, Francis.
Trust me, Tim. It's better this way. One or two things to sort out first.
What things?
Trust me, as I trust you. We'll speak soon.
Thank you, my lord.
It's a terrible mistake to think that socialism's incompatible with an enjoyment of the good things of life, isn't it, John?
Oh, absolutely. The good things in life belong to everyone. That's my view.
Our lot never had any doctrinal problems of that sort.
Excuse me, Clay. 4 relatively serious injuries, all comfortable. They're extremely chuffed that you're going to visit, sir. They'll expect us in about 20 minutes. There'll be a lot of press there, of course.
Well, perhaps I might come along as well. Oh, yes, of course, Mr. Strutt.
Separate car from a different direction, stagger the timing.
Yes, I understand all that. But if I could just say this, I think we've found a remarkable consensus here tonight on the kind of Britain we'd all like to see. But from here on in, it's hard politics. If you want to make an omelette, you're going to have to break an egg or two. We've got to get real about these things.
Oh, yes, I agree. And one thing we might get real about is the fact that your party doesn't look strong enough to win an election on its own, and that change in this country is going to depend on some kind of realignment or alliance, which will either persuade Francis Urquhart of the folly of his ways or force his resignation as he forced the resignation of his predecessor.
But something like that takes years, not months, and it certainly couldn't be achieved before the election.
Whenever that is.
Not unless you believe in miracles.
Or dirty tricks, which have been used against us often enough. But I assume no one here would be prepared to use those.
Even if there was something we could use.
I cannot understand why you all take such a passive
and yet I must say this defeatist line. For God's sake, can't you see that if our will is strong enough, the means will present itself?
Ireland is to do with honor, Sarah, not profit. I'll never give an inch there.
You're a real dinosaur, aren't you? You don't really belong on the new right at all.
I have an instinct for what the British people are prepared to stomach, Sarah. The forces that drive me come from centuries of history. This used to be a proud nation. It's becoming so again. I'm giving us back our pride, Sarah. Yes, of course, it's a painful process, but it's worth it.
And I fill the polls for you to help you make it happen. How do you reconcile that?
I don't have to. I do whatever it takes. Thank you. My car's waiting. Under the show, the struggle for power. Deep down below it all, deeper than honor, deeper than pride, deeper than lust, and deeper than love, is the getting of it all. The seizing and the holding on, the jaws locked, biting into power and hanging on, biting and hanging on.
To get some on you. See you in the pit.
Yes. Corda. Good. Yes. All three of them. Excellent, Corda. Oh, come now. They were terrorists. I thought you liked strong leadership.
Mr. John Stroud?
Will the Prime Minister confirm or deny that the 3 citizens of the Irish Republic shot dead at the Thamesmead shopping centre were executed by members of the armed services on a shoot-to-kill policy personally authorised by the Prime Minister himself? The right honourable gentleman will hardly expect me to comment on a case which is not only sub judice, but subject to the Official Secrets Act. I am surprised that the right honourable gentleman should be so naive.
Order! No, order! Mr. John Staines.
Would the Prime Minister agree with me that it's a matter for congratulation rather than censure if 3 IRA murderers are stopped in their tracks instead of being allowed to carry out their obscene outrages unhindered? And will the Prime Minister agree with me that it's high time we thought about the innocent victims of the bombers instead of whinging about the infringements of the rights of bloody murderers?
I thank my honourable friend. I think, in the circumstances, all I can reply is that he may very well think that, but of course I couldn't possibly comment.
Beautiful morning. I understand Sir Bruce is going hunting with the Fat Princess today. Are we keeping an eye on that?
Come on, Brucey! What's the matter? Thought you said you were a goer!
Bloody
bloody dreadful, little man.
I know. What can you do? Dosh is dosh, Quillers.
Oh, my God. Oh, go ahead, Brucey. Bloody marvellous. Little trainer is the bad.
Oh, no, really, that's most unkind. Wow. It's really amazing. God, I'm absolutely shaggers. I'm wrecked, stonkered. Amazing day, though.
Absolutely.
Come on, Barnaby. Get that down your neck.
Thanks.
Anyone see the Hunt saboteurs?
Don't think so, no. All a bit of a blur, really, for me.
I did. Had a brief exchange with one of them. She called me a filthy blood junkie. Exact words. Filthy blood junkie. Rather pithy, I thought.
What was your reply, Quills?
I've rather lost for words. I sort of hit her with my whip, I'm afraid.
She'll wear a crash helmet next time.
Well, I'm going to hit my bath. You can come and talk to me if you like, Bully.
Hmm? Oh, right. I'll see you in a minute then.
She's game there, Charlie. I'll say that for her.
You shut your disgusting mouth, Pink. The man's ghosting her memoirs for posterity and 100,000 retainer.
Really? I wonder if he'd be interested in mine.
Nobody's been interested in yours, Pink, since prep school.
Oh, wow. Come on in. Come on. Don't be shy. Come on. You can do my back for me if you like.
Oh, right.
Come on, Brucey. Bit of elbow grease. Oh, wow. That's amazing.
You're magnificent.
Little Brucey. You know, I used to think you were absolutely horrible. Total sleaze bag. But you're all right, really, aren't you? Shall we have oats? Wow.
Are you going down to the country this evening?
I thought I would, yes.
You won't mind if I don't join you till tomorrow. Things to do.
I thought there might be. Don't work too hard, Francis.
Yes.
Tim Stamper here.
Tim.
Look, could we meet? I'd like to discuss things with you.
No, I'm sorry, Tim. I'm rather tied up this evening unless it's desperately urgent.
Well...
Good. You see, I do think it's sensible to have fairly clearly defined parameters. If Sarah's giving me good input on political initiatives and handling public opinion, well, that leaves you free for all that bullying and kicking the hell out of people that's so important at a time like this.
That's not all I'm good for.
Tim, of course not. It's simply a question of horses for courses.
Look, I need to know how long we've got till polling day.
Soon, Tim. Very soon. Just need one or two things to fall into place. You understand, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. That's it.
Good man.
You owe me, Francis. And you set your whore up over me.
Where's the other train, sir? Oh, come on. Don't be like that. Ain't you got no heart? Just a bit of loose change, that's all. You must be loaded. Of course she's loaded. She's the one. Come on, girl. Come on. Hold still. Is that her?
Sarah Harding. That's the one.
Listen, girlie. Ask him about matching his story.
Please let me go.
You're not listening. Listen, girlie. Ask him about matching his story.
Ask who?
You know who.
Let her go, Jim.
I'm not sure I can hack it.
Don't worry. They're a nice crowd here. Gotta get out sometime. Stay there. I'll get them in.
States.
Well, bugger me. David Mycroft, isn't it? Dean, meet David. Well, I never knew. Don't panic, David. All friends here. Go to party later on. Do you want to come? Second thoughts, not your thing. All right, Ken. See you then, David. Don't worry. Your secret's safe with me.
I'm all right, really. I'm fine. It was very strange, though.
Drink this. You've had a shock.
Yes, I have. I don't frighten very easily. In fact, I didn't really panic then, quite. It was just rather horrible. It was the moment when she threw my bag away. She didn't even take my money, and I just thought, well, that's it. They're going to kill me now.
Steady.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This isn't me. I'm not like this.
You were very brave, Sarah, and you're safe now.
Yes.
Drink.
Yes, thank you. Better now.
Someone wanted to frighten you. Someone who wants to make you frightened of me. You're not frightened of me, are you, Sarah?
No, not at all.
They asked you about Mattie Storin.
They told me to ask you about Mattie Storin. Who is she? I'm sure I've heard that name before or read it somewhere.
She's dead, Sarah. Mattie Storin's dead.
Look, if it's difficult, of course, you don't have to tell me. Why should you?
I want to tell you. Mattie was a brilliant young journalist. Brilliant but unstable. I met her first several years ago when she came to interview me. She had great gifts. She wasn't in your class intellectually, but she was intuitive, sharp, very quick to learn. I liked her very much right from the start. She was having some difficulties in her career, the usual sort of thing. Mediocre, middle-aged men, jealous of a talented young woman, determined to block her progress. And I was able to help in small ways, nothing very much. She had the talent to make her own way, but she was grateful, and I was happy to be of help to her. Gradually, I found I was looking forward more and more to our meetings. There was an edge to them, an intensity that related to the instability that was later to become so painfully apparent. Her father had died when she was a child. I have no children.
Daddy.
I always yearned to be a father of daughters.
How do you, Daddy?
No doubt that was an element that played its part.
Daddy.
She told me that she had fallen in love with me. And I find I was totally incapable of resisting her. I had thought my feelings for her were entirely platonic. She showed me they were not. She showed me they were quite otherwise. She spoke to a need in me I didn't even know was there. Can you understand that at all?
Oh, yes.
Do you know, it's strange. I've never told another living soul about this.
What happened? How did she die?
She killed herself. And I still feel guilty. I knew our affair was wrong, that it would damage her in the long run, and I determined I had to end it. I tried to break it to her as gently as I could, but she seemed to fall apart. She seemed to want to destroy herself, or me, or both of us. She jumped from the roof garden of the House of Commons. She'd followed me up there. She wanted me to see. She said, "Look at me. Look what you made me do." And she jumped. I couldn't get near her. I couldn't stop her, Sarah.
I think you have to stop blaming yourself. I think you did everything you could.
But how could I not feel guilt?
What she did was the act of an hysteric. I'm sorry if that sounds brutal, but she wanted to damage you, and she did it in the only way she could think of. I feel very sorry for her, but that's the way it is, isn't it?
Perhaps you're right. I wish I could think so.
It won't be that way with me.
What?
It won't be that way with me. I'm not unstable or hysterical or self-destructive. We'll come together as equals. We'll enjoy each other, and we'll part good friends. That is what you want, isn't it?
I hadn't allowed myself to think about it after what you said about your marriage.
But this won't have anything to do with my marriage. You won't need to worry about that. I can handle my marriage. I'm sure you can handle yours. I am here to learn everything you have to teach me, after all. Don't worry, Francis. It'll be fine. Through here?
Women are strange feeders. And now I have put myself into her hands, as you might think. But I believe she's safe. She is, after all, a happily married woman, and she has, after all, signed the Official Secrets Act. I think I'm ready for a bit of mischief now. I think it's time I put myself about a bit. I do enjoy these visits to the palace. A glass of sherry, a little verbal fencing, and a bracing dose of hatred and contempt. Most invigorating. And today there's going to be a little extra treat. No, I won't spoil it. Wait and see. Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Hello, my craft.
I'm sure he's on switch.
What did he say?
Nothing. That smile of his, you know. Crocodile smile like that.
Mr. Urquhart, it's some weeks now since you hinted to me you were planning to call a general election.
Yes, sir, I believe it is.
I'd be glad of some idea of the date you have in mind.
I'm sure you would, yes. And, of course, you will be the first to be informed. But there are some imponderables and some parliamentary business still to be enacted.
What business, if I may ask?
Of course you may, sir. Your prerogative. We thought about taking another look at the civil list, amongst other things.
After a full-scale review only a year ago?
Yes, we thought about having another look.
I trust you're not being vindictive, Mr. Urquhart?
Not at all, sir, not at all. Far be it from this government to lop another $1 million or so off a deserving royal family on the specious pretext of babies starving in the streets.
Oh, for God's sake, man, that sort of cheap remark's unworthy of you.
I hear you've been having secret talks with opposition leaders and one or two of the less trustworthy members of my own party. Is this true?
I have a perfect right. I would regard it as my duty to inform myself of all shades of political opinion.
Yes, but that right hardly extends to conspiring in Chelsea restaurants and trying to organize a bloodless coup against the elected government of the day, does it?
Well, now, look here. Consultation doesn't mean conspiracy. And questioning the government isn't a criminal activity, is it?
We know what you've been up to. And my advice on that little venture is pack it in. It won't work. It'll all end in tears.
Urquhart, what are you frightened of? If my views are wrong, they'll be seen to be wrong, won't they? And if they're not wrong, then they should be heard, and you should welcome them, shouldn't you?
I understand you're preparing a television program now. May I see a copy of the text?
No. Still in preparation.
I should think very carefully about all this if I were you, sir.
Well, do you know, I have done, Prime Minister, and I shall continue to do so.
What I would prefer, of course, is that he'd give up thinking altogether. Kings aren't supposed to think. It was a great mistake sending him to university and letting him talk to all those architects and philosophers and comely young black activists. Thank you, Miss Carmichael.
Pleasure, Prime Minister.
He's become far too fond of the sound of his own voice. The trouble is, other people seem to like it too. I do hate confrontations. Somebody always ends up getting hurt. Time for a visit to the House of Wounded Feeling. We have to keep our options open. Your Royal Highness.
Yeah.
What do you want this time?
To assure you of my government's warm and continuing interest in your welfare, ma'am, and to inquire if there is any way in which I could be of service to you.
Thank you. Look, it's very good of you to take the trouble, but could I just ask if you're planning to spend one of those meaningless half hours saying absolutely nothing? Because if you were planning something like that, I'd just as soon leave it out if you don't mind. I've sort of had all that, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So, is there any chance of my asking a couple of simple questions and getting straight answers?
You could try, ma'am.
I want to know what he's up to.
In my view, he's playing a dangerous game, ma'am. He's playing politics. His usual line, but he's taking it further. He's coming into direct conflict with the elected government. And his advisors, who should be restraining him, seem to be egging him on. I take it you no longer have any influence there.
I never had, Mr. Urquhart.
It's a pity.
Or anywhere else.
Oh, now there you are too modest.
What's going to happen, Mr. Urquhart?
I'm afraid that by his actions, His Majesty is going to injure himself.
You mean you're going to injure him? Do you really want to destroy the monarchy?
No, ma'am. I do not want to destroy the monarchy. You have nothing to fear from me, nor does your son. You need friends, ma'am. You need strong friends whom you can trust. I sought no quarrel with your husband. I wished to be his friend. And now I wish to be yours. The breach between him and me can be healed if he wills it. Whether he does or not, you and your son will not suffer. I think you understand me, don't you?
Yes, I do. But can I trust you?
You know you can.
Mother?
Yes, darling?
Look, stranger on this island, now the leaping light for your delight discovers. Stand stable here, and silent be, that through the channel of the ear may wander like a river the swaying sound of the sea. I love my country, but I have to tell you that I fear for what is happening to it.
Sadly, pollution is the word that comes most readily to mind.
Wow, that's really, really bad news.
Oh, come on, Charlie. Man's telling the truth.
Oh, Quilly, what do you know from diddly squat?
Man's making a stand. Got to respect that.
Pollution in the most literal sense of our seas and rivers, of our roads, our cities. Pollution caused by the cynical exploitation of natural resources, but also a deeper, more insidious form of pollution, moral pollution. What one might almost call pollution of the soul. This kind of pollution permits the cynical exploitation of human resources, the waste of human talent, the destruction by design or by neglect of human hopes and aspirations, the erosion of human dignity, and the gradual obliteration of those values which I've always felt to be peculiarly ours. Ours in these islands. The values of fairness, of human kindness. That sense that we are all equal in the eyes of God. That to be human means to be bound together in mutual trust and dependency. That sense that what will survive of us is love. Love in its broadest sense. Nowadays I find that I sleep badly. And my waking hours are troubled by a pervasive sense of unease. And I know why.
There is a new spirit abroad, a deeply disturbing and depressing spirit. We are beginning not to care about each other anymore. Some of us who have jobs and homes and money are beginning to regard the unemployed as just a little less human than ourselves. The homeless as a little less human than ourselves. The very poor as a little less human than ourselves. We begin not to notice them, to harden our hearts against them.
Even to blame them for their hardship and their unhappiness, as if they weren't quite human.
As if they didn't feel pain and hunger quite as we do, but they do. They do. I don't want to rule over a country. I don't want to live in a country in which people don't care about each other. I'm not a political animal, but it seems to me that we must find a new way to live together in this land of ours. I think we all know that. Things are going to have to change. I want to be part of that change. Let us begin to make that change now.
And the excitement here outside 10 Downing Street is scarcely less than that outside the palace. The King's broadcast has brought out a truly extraordinary public response. The crowds are out in the streets here in London and in all major cities in support of the King's apparent opposition to Francis Urquhart's hardline policies on welfare. And we're just waiting now for the Prime Minister, who's on his way here from Chequers. And here he comes now.
Mr. Urquhart, could you give me a few words?
Of course, happy to.
Could you confirm there is now a complete breakdown in relations between the palace and Downing Street, following the King's savage criticism of government policy?
Absolute nonsense. His Majesty and I enjoy excellent relations based on mutual trust and a free and frank exchange of views.
If I may say so, that is not the way it's being seen by Buckingham Palace sources. They see it as something pretty close to civil war.
They may very well think that if they're silly enough. Here's the way I see it. His Majesty is as much entitled to his views as you or I. He's an idealist, and I like him all the better for it. He's actually a very nice man, you know. All right? I want a full report on this.
Yes, sir. Which particular aspect?
All aspects. Where's Mr. Stamford?
He's waiting for you, sir, and Mrs. Harding.
Right. And I want no calls for the next hour.
Right.
Out! Out! All right, what's the damage?
Well, it's bad. We've underestimated him. It was a first-class bit of propaganda. You've got to hand it to him.
What are the polls saying?
10% swing against the government.
10%. People are so very fickle, aren't they? They don't seem to appreciate what I've done for them at all.
It's just a temporary blip, Francis. Come the election, they'll vote for low taxes and a tight ship. They always do.
I hope they will, Tim. So far, your efforts to get that view across have been remarkably unsuccessful. What the hell is your little pal Brentford Jones playing at?
I don't know if you...
Time for a change of heart. I thought you had him neutered.
So did I.
And Bullaby's rag appears to have lost its brains completely. King of hearts.
Well, you know the pit bull.
No, actually, that was one thing I left to you. This isn't good enough. I'm extremely disappointed.
You can have my resignation any time you like, Prime Minister.
I don't want your resignation. I just want you to do the job I thought you were capable of.
Could we have a word in private?
No, I don't think that'll be necessary. And I've got rather a lot to do this morning. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that he may be in the right.
Stamper?
The king. He may be right, Sarah.
He's not right. What he said had no intellectual content whatsoever. No thought. It's all bleeding heart. Compassion babble.
Go on.
Well... no one likes distress and poverty. But if we left it up to him, he'd plunge the whole country back into debt. We'd be back in the same old vicious circle of subsidising indolence and apathy and penalising talent and industry. He's put it on the agenda, though. Compassion, I mean. He's really done it, I'm afraid. Compassion's here to stay.
Is he very angry?
Could say that, yes. Forget about that knighthood for a start.
Do you know, I don't think I thought about that at all when I was writing that leader. Feel quite proud of that in a way. Oh, well.
Trouble is, unless you toe the line now, that other business is going to have to come out.
What other business?
The business of your indecently exposing yourself on Stirling Railway Station. What business do you think?
Oh, God, for pity's sake.
Nothing personal, Brian. You know that. Rule to the game. But the heat's on now, and he's calling in all favours. If you's on the warpath, and the price of coffins is going to raise. Huckleberry Finn. The only book I ever read right through at school. Awful late I've come to that. And a total waste of time that was, too. Do you ever wonder if the whole game's worth the candle?
Almost every day now, Tim.
Really? You can be such a swine, Brian. I don't think he appreciates how much he owes to me.
Do you ever think about the future, Tim? Next PM, I mean, taking over from FU.
Not anymore. Not enough of a power base. Who's heard of me, anyway? I spent my whole political life as Urquhart's stooge.
Well, some of us appreciate your qualities, Tim, and would support you if the opportunity arose. No one's invulnerable.
Well, that's true. Thanks, Brian. Who knows, eh?
What did you talk about with her? Did you talk about politics?
Sometimes. I used to let her ask me questions. It was a sort of game we had.
Do you mind me asking about her?
I'd rather you ask me than anyone else.
Did you love her very much? Do you wish it was her here now, not me? Don't answer that.
Sarah.
Forget it. It's all right. Forget it. I feel stifled. I feel as if I'd like to open the curtain and stand at the window looking out.
What is it you want to see?
Nothing. I just like to be able to do it, that's all. Don't worry, I wasn't going to do it. You don't have to worry about me. I think I'll go home now. Is that all right?
Of course, if that's what you want to do.
I think I should.
You're not regretting this.
Oh, no. It's not easy, but I'm not regretting it. It's all far too interesting for that. I think it's the most interesting thing I've ever done.
Good.
You mustn't worry, Francis. I told you I want to learn everything I can from you.
And then you'll leave me.
Well, nothing lasts forever, does it? I think I'd better take a shower. I must absolutely reek of you. I don't think Andrew would approve. Is that okay?
Of course. No, it isn't easy. It is interesting, but it isn't easy. So many people gather in these rooms where lovers meet. So many ghosts, so many silent witnesses from my past life and her present one. Sometimes it seems they suck up all the sweet, fresh air, and I can't breathe. I wanted to make her my slave. And now I almost feel in danger of becoming hers.
The reaction's brilliant. We've just received these figures from the BBC, sir. You went over like a dream.
I must say I feel greatly encouraged. Thank you, both of you, for your input.
No, it was you, sir. You wrote your own words this time, and people recognised that. You sounded like yourself, and you said what they wanted to hear. You said what everyone wants to hear.
Well, I hope so, Colonel.
I don't think there can be much doubt about that, sir. I've seen the latest poll for tomorrow's Standard. Up to a 12% swing against government policies.
And the press and TV coverage is better than could have hoped for. It's very warm, very friendly.
Best the firm has done for years, if I can put it that way.
But?
I beg your pardon, sir?
There's a reservation there, David. What is it?
I don't see how we are to go on from here. Urquhart's gearing up to fight a general election.
He'll choose the date to suit himself.
Now, is the palace intending to side with the opposition openly?
Oh, I can't do that, David. The king cannot actively enter into party politics.
I think you already have done, sir. And I think it's the best thing that could have happened.
No. Absolute bloody nonsense, Chloe. It's my duty to take soundings. It's my duty to say what I think is right, and that is all I am doing, encouraging all political parties to adopt more humane, caring, and rational domestic and international policies, and that is utterly and completely consistent with my status as the constitutional monarch in a parliamentary democracy.
That's not the way the people see it, sir. They see you as the only man who has the stature and the moral authority and the sheer guts to take on Urquhart and win. And they're right. Urquhart's your enemy now.
I'm not going to listen to any more of it. Please, leave us, Chloe, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir.
I will not. This is not some petty personal blood feud, and I am not a politician. She's wrong, isn't she?
I think so, sir. You're seeking to lead and influence public opinion. That'll make itself felt in all parties, and people can change. I know that. Of course, the Urquharts of this world aren't about to change. Chloe was right about Urquhart. He is your enemy. And I think he'll be utterly unscrupulous about the tactics he uses.
Invasion of the privacy, for example.
And in that connection, there's something about me.
No, whatever it is, I don't want to hear it. Your private life clearly has nothing to do with your ability to do your job. Good God, David. The hell that wife of yours put you through, you'd have been entitled to a full-scale nervous breakdown. Believe me, I know what it feels like. You're a rock, David. An absolute rock. Always have been. Best man I've got. Best man I know. Look here, David. If you're trying to tell me that you found someone else, and you're shagging yourself silly, well, jolly good luck to you, whoever it is. Nothing to do with your job, full stop. Now, if you want to confide in me as a friend, well, now that's something else.
I don't think so. If it's not a problem for you, sir, it's certainly not one for me. As a matter of fact, I'm happier now than I've been for years.
Oh, good. I'm delighted, David.
Oh, yes. I mean, wow.
She must have been the last virgin left in the EC, I should think. Over 12, I mean, and properly connected.
Did they take her word for it, or have the family doctor look her over, sort of thing?
Brucey, that is beastly. How should I know? Do you want me to ask her? God.
Could you? Would she tell you?
You're just so disgusting, aren't you?
It's not for me, it's for history.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. You old hypocrite. What a little pig you are, little Brucey Bullaby with your sack of money. Little Brucey, little Brucey.
Oh, for God's sake, Charlotte.
Love it.
Please, can we get on? Now.
It's better for her to mate with the strongest bull, for then she stands the best chance of producing strong pups next year. Number 2 bull chases number 3 away from a female and then claims her for himself.
Was he seeing anyone else at the time?
No, what time? Oh, yeah, right. Well, of course he was.
Who?
God, I can't remember loads of people. You haven't really got this, have you, Bully? Look, if you're one of his lot, you just send for anyone you want. It's a, thingy. Perk of the job. Silly old bullers.
You can't remember any names, then?
Oh, wow, honestly. I didn't know it was going to be such hard work. Oh, Liddy, of course. Liddy Baker Harvington. Oh, and Pooh Bender. Do you know Pooh? Oh, you'd adore her. Pooh's a sport. Try anything once, Pooh, point of principle. Oh, and, oh, God. This is so exhausting. Bully, can't we stop and have another little rest?
You don't think you might be letting things slide too far, Francis?
There's not much to be done about it at the moment, Elizabeth. We've seriously underestimated him. Let's be frank about it. He's turned out to be quite a performer. But then, life would be very dull without its little ups and downs. No rest for the wicked. Oh, by the way, I shall be dining at the house this evening, if that's all right with you.
Of course. I think I'll go down to the country. You don't need Corder this evening, do you?
No.
I think I'll give him dinner, and we could make a start on Siegfried.
Well, that'll be jolly. Very good value, Corder.
I think so, too.
Prime Minister's question time. Very frightening, like being mugged by a guinea pig.
Mr. John Stroud.
Is the Prime Minister aware?
Is the Prime Minister aware, as he certainly should be, if he's read a newspaper this week, if he's listened to the radio this week, if he's watched TV this week, if he's talked to any ordinary man or woman in the street this week, which I very much doubt he's done for a very long time, because he wouldn't like to hear what they've got to say.
Too many words. He'll never learn.
Is he aware that the vast majority of people in this country, from His Majesty himself to the homeless beggars in the streets, are fed up with him and his discredited policies? When will he go to the country, as he has continually hinted that he will, and give them a chance to vote him out and vote in a government that cares about people?
I'd like to assure you, Madam Speaker, that the government is well aware of the problems so eloquently and movingly expressed by His Majesty and, of course, his little... I mean the Right Honourable Gentleman there. And I am happy to tell the House that the government is now in a position to address those problems directly in a series of measures to be announced next week. After which we shall humbly submit to the verdict of the British public at the polling station. Yes, it's all very well tormenting the intellectually challenged, but we have been pushed into a bit of a U-turn by our royal friend, and those parts of the media we haven't fixed are going to say so. All the opposition have to do is to get a new leader without too many penalty points on his license, play all the court cards, and we could be in serious trouble. Back to the welfare state without passing go. Dismal egalitarianism running rampant with a royal seal of approval. Thank God for the House of Lords is all I can say.
This debate is about fox hunting. It's about much more than that. There are wreckers in this land, my lords, who want to do away with everything we hold most dear. Whether it be the time-honored customs of our country, or the great tradition of charity to our less fortunate fellow men, or even the sacred tradition of the monarchy itself.
My lords, this is the first time I have been moved to speak in this House in 15 years.
I only want to say this. Don't meddle in things that don't concern you. That's fox hunting. Do something about poverty and injustice, or you'll have a bloody revolution on your hands.
And finally, don't blame the royal family. It's not their ruddy talk.
The constitutional crisis. The Lords and Bishops siding with the King against the government.
Storm in a teacup, Gordon, a lot of bloody nonsense. This is not the Middle Ages. Shepherds go out too many at lunchtime, blows off steam, a lot of publicity, man, bishops join in. Well, that's what the House of Lords is for, isn't it? Sorry to butt in, F.U.
Yes, Tim. What is it?
What is it? We've got a crisis on our hands. We're trailing 14 points, and suddenly it's all right for everyone to call us names. The troops are getting very jumpy. I need to tell them something positive.
We go to the polls 3 weeks from tomorrow. All right with you?
Oh, bloody excellent. Oh, we just need to get things moving, that's all. The chaps will soon fall into place. I mean, who really cares about tramps and beggars, for God's sake? Oh, I've got Staines to do point of order, just for the look of it.
Who?
Staines. You know, always keen to please.
Can you stop him?
No. You've already started by now. Well, what's the matter?
I wish you'd consulted me first, Tim. Staines is about to become a problem.
Earlier this afternoon, Madam Speaker, in another place, a noble lord accused this government of all kinds of wickedness. Fox-hunting peers get a better view of things from their high horses, I suppose. Yeah. Like the royals in their Bentleys. And that gives them the right to lecture us. How dare they? Yeah. How dare they challenge the people's elected representatives and try to claim a moral superiority over ordinary, decent folk? How dare they? Yeah. Who do they think they are, Madam Speaker? We know who we are and what we're for. Yeah. Who are they? And what are they for? To live off our backs and read us sermons on how to live? Do we actually need moral sermons from a degenerate aristocracy and a discredited royal family?
Buggery, actual bodily harm, gross indecency, a number of lesser charges. Nearly all of them underage, of course. Nearly all of them with young offenders in custody or bail hospitals or in care. Apparently, he regarded it as a perk of the job.
John Staines.
Yes?
My name is Hackett, sir. Detective Inspector Hackett.
We'd like you to come to the station now, sir, to help us with some inquiries we're making.
Mr. John Staines, the Member of Parliament for Stansted, is still being interviewed by senior police officers, having been charged with a number of sexual offences against juveniles. Earlier this evening, Mr. Staines made an impassioned speech in the House of Commons, rebutting recent attacks on the government and criticising the lifestyle of the aristocracy and the royal family.
What a shame. Apparently, it was a very good speech. It won't carry quite so much moral authority now.
You take it all very calmly.
These things are sent to trial, Sarah. I never cared for the man, one of Stamper's boys. Tim Stamper's not the world's most brilliant judge of character, and he's running out of luck. If any of this dirt sticks to Stamper, I'll drop him like a hot brick. In some ways, it might be a very good thing. The way the tide's running against us, we could do with a scapegoat.
I thought he was your oldest friend.
He is.
Staines thought his boys were fair game, a perk of the job.
Apparently so.
Is that what I am? Do you see me as a perk of the job, Francis?
Of course not. You might as well say I'm a perk of your job. We have freedom of action. We choose each other.
How did Mattie Storen see it? What? What is it?
You have nothing to do with her. That relationship was utterly different. What you and I have is unique. Mattie Storen is dead, Sarah. She's gone for good.
It isn't easy, this. It isn't as easy as I thought it would be. I'm spending too much time thinking about you. Not the job, you. And people in your past, like Mattie Storen. I seem to have become unhealthily obsessed. And I'm afraid I'm in some danger of falling in love with you.
Oh, come on, David. This is silly. Yes. I'm sure it is. It's just upset me, that's all. This Staines business. He was there that night, in that club, with that kid, with one of his kids, toting him around and showing him off as if to say, look what I've got, wouldn't you like one too? I mean, he was almost offering this boy round as if it were a packet of cigarettes. And then he said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but the implication was, we're all the same, we're all at it. But what you and I do is the same thing as what he does.
It's not, David.
Yes, I know.
My client, who is completely innocent of these very serious charges, is nevertheless anxious to offer you his very fullest cooperation in your inquiries.
Not asking for a deal, are we?
He is in a position to offer you very extensive and detailed information relating to this particular inquiry and to others that you may be interested in pursuing.
Run it! Run it! Enough is enough! Old England gives warning to Essex man. We care for the kids, says Staines, and is promptly arrested for buggering them. Yes, I know you can't say it, but hint, hint, hint! Fox hunting Lord Quillington, rebuked by the Stainer from Stansted.
And the pit bull roars approval.
I heard that. You're fired. Now, this is the story. You've got the King against the Prime Minister, you've got the Lords against the Commons, the bishops are in now, you've got Don't Blame the Royals, and in particular you've got Urquhart's plan to bring down the monarchy for good and all. And they have all played the personal morality card, every one of them, which means in my book that everybody's private life is now up for grabs, and I mean everybody's.
This is absolutely excellent, Sarah. It attacks the problem of the inner cities. It tackles unemployment, and it's going to put some very surprised layabouts under strict discipline. Original, bold, and very practicable. And this is the only copy.
Oh, yes. No one else has seen it, and I haven't discussed it with anybody.
Let's keep it that way. Timing is everything.
I'm extremely impressed, Sarah.
Thank you. Oh, no, I can't, really, not this evening. We've got people coming. I wish I could stay, honestly, but it's just not possible.
Of course. It's all right, Sarah. I understand.
I'm sorry. I got held up. I'm so sorry.
You selfish bitch!
I'm sorry you're upset.
Is that all?
I still love you.
I can smell him on you, Sarah. How could you do it?
I don't know. I'm trying to talk about something I don't understand myself.
Give him up. Just give him up, now.
I can't.
What about me? What about me? You bitch!
Hello.
Piece of advice, Sarah. Stop now, or you'll end up like Matty.
Matty was a brilliant young journalist. Brilliant but unstable. I met her first several years ago when she came to interview me. I liked her very much right from the start. I found I was incapable of resisting her. I had thought that my feelings for her were entirely platonic. She showed me that they were not. She showed me they were quite otherwise.
Krieski used to be first class, but he's come seriously unstuck. Completely paranoid now, peddles a lot of conspiracy theories which don't quite stand up. I suppose I've a lot of contacts in the IRA, but nobody's quite sure. We tend to give him a rather wide berth these days. I suppose I could arrange a meeting for you if you really thought it was worth your while.
Yes, please, Brian. I'd be very, very grateful.
Well, take everything he says with a big pinch of salt. Personally, I think he's off his head.
They bug the phones. They bug the buildings. You have no idea. So who do you work for? Who's paying you?
I work directly to Francis Urquhart, but this isn't for him. This is purely personal.
Matty's sorry. It was a lovely girl.
She was Francis Urquhart's mistress, wasn't she?
I don't know. Yes, she had to be. But then again, it's so hard to get my... I think he killed her, you see. Or he had her killed.
What?
Well, we knew he killed O'Neill or had him killed. Put rat poison in his cocaine. That did the trick.
Oh, really? That's just absurd.
Think what you like. No skin off my nose. I can't prove it now. All Matty's tapes were stolen. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? You think I'm crazy, don't you?
I don't know. Are you?
Yes. I think I probably am a bit. What I don't know is why the bastards haven't killed me yet. It's very unsettling, you see, just walking round, waiting for them to do it.
Why don't you just go to the police?
The police? It's the police they'll probably employ to do it. Violently resisting arrest, found hanged in his cell. I just wish they'd bloody well get on with it. I don't think I can stand much more of this. They'll probably kill you too now. I'm off. Best of luck.
Come in.
Sir Bruce is here, Prime Minister.
Good. Excellent. Show him in.
Sir Bruce?
Bruce, good to see you. Thanks for coming in at such short notice.
Always a pleasure, Francis.
Afternoon, Tim.
Hello.
I see you've been reading the paper. No hard feelings, I hope. These things need airing.
Well, of course they do. Quite right. Do sit down. Would I be right in thinking you're on some sort of morality crusade, Bruce?
In a sense, yes. Opening a debate about morality in public and private life, why not?
With everyone's private life a legitimate subject for scrutiny.
Well, if it's all right for the royals, why not the rest of us?
Well, who could argue with that? How are you getting along with the princess?
Very well, surprisingly enough.
Yes, we thought so too. Stamper has some photographs he'd like to show you. The technical quality is rather poor in some of them. Other way up, I think, Bruce. That's it. There's a video, too. I was very doubtful about the morality of infringing your privacy, Bruce, but after what you've just said...
How much for the prints and the negatives?
Bruce, please. A little loyalty from our friends is all we ask. Just a helping hand in these rather trying times.
Oh, well, of course. We weren't actually going to put the boot in. No, not in a serious way. These are tough times for all of us.
We gather the princess's memoirs have been quite revealing.
Bloody dynamite. And not just about her, not just about the younger generation, if you follow me. Staggering stuff. They're all bloody at it. Always have been.
Print them.
I can't do that. I made a solemn promise, not a word, while the princess is still alive. Francis? It would destroy her, and not just her. She doesn't deserve that.
No, perhaps you're right. We'll just have to make do with these then, won't we?
All right, you bugger. Ding dong, ding dong. And that's for you, Stamper!
What? Just like old times.
Found on waste ground in West London last night was today identified as that of John Krajewski, a freelance investigative journalist. The killing bore the hallmarks of a so-called execution by the Provisional IRA, but it has been claimed by a group previously unknown on the mainland, calling themselves the London Irish Branch. John Krajewski had a distinguished career in journalism, having worked as a reporter, sub-editor, and deputy editor for many newspapers from the Times to the tabloids.
Sarah, I'm surprised at you. You actually went to meet him. Why would you want to do that?
It's embarrassing. I got a bit obsessed about Mattie Storin. I was jealous of her, I suppose. I thought if I found out a bit more, it would help.
And did it? Help, I mean?
Yes, I think it did.
What strange creatures we are. The things we feel we have to do.
He said he knew he was going to be killed. He didn't say he meant the IRA.
And what else did he say?
Nothing much. He said Mattie Storrin was a lovely girl.
She was a lovely girl. But she's not with us anymore. And that was all he said?
More or less.
You do trust me, don't you, Sarah?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Good. But they all of them, betray us eventually. They love us, but not quite enough. They trust us, but not quite enough. And we trust them to be entirely human, meaning less than trustworthy, which means that we can never quite entirely sleep. As the cat's eyelids flicker, some part of us must stay awake, always, ready, as the coiled spring is ready.
Bully, you don't know what you've done. You didn't even tell me first. God, I knew you were a bit of a toad. But I never ever in a million years believed you'd do anything so completely and utterly crappy. Bully, how could you?
You have to believe me. I feel as bad about this as you do.
It's Urquhart. He had me over a barrel.
Well, you have to believe me, Charlotte. My arse was on the line.
What about my arse? What about my arse? Doesn't my arse mean anything to you?
It means a great deal to me, Charlotte, more than I can say. But in the final analysis...
When the chip is down...
Shut up, just bloody well shut up! God, Bully, I can't believe what you've done. Quilly's going to kill you. He means that. He's absolutely serious. And I shan't try and stop him.
Over the last few weeks, the integrity of this government and of Parliament itself has been subjected to an organized and virulent attack from various sources. You might think that some of those who made accusations were not perhaps in the ideal position to throw stones, living as they do in glass houses, or should I say, glass palaces. You might very well think that. It would not be proper for me to comment. Most of you will be aware of the so-called revelations in the Clarion today. Many of you will deplore, as I do, the prevalence of muck-raking in our tabloid press. But for muck-raking to happen, there has to be muck to be raked. And sadly, this commodity is not in short supply amongst the English aristocracy. And very sadly, in the royal family itself.
This is very damaging stuff.
No, it's not. We're getting to him. He's running scared.
A poll to be published tomorrow shows that a majority now favor further drastic reductions in public funding for the monarchy. I am not at present prepared to accede to this and remain, in spite of everything, a loyal servant of the crown. But I should like to leave you with these questions. What is the monarchy for? Where has it gone wrong? And how can we help the monarchy to serve the country better?
How much does Bullerby have? What could he publish?
Everything the princess was able to tell him. A lot of it's hearsay, of course, but I'd say there's enough to bring down the monarchy for good.
Damn you, man, is that what you want?
No, sir, it is not what I want. And I think, I'm sure, in fact, I could persuade him to suppress the more sensitive items.
The price being my silence and complicity, I suppose.
You might see it in those terms.
All right, do your worst.
I beg your pardon, sir?
I don't think that people want any more muckraking. I think the whole nation is sick to death of negative campaigning and dirty tricks. They want to be given hope. They want something positive. I want to show them that there is an alternative, and I shall.
You have given your word, sir.
Well, I've given my word not to make any political speeches, and I shan't. But I shall make it very clear that I oppose you bitterly in everything you stand for. I used to think you were an honourable man. I don't think that anymore. I think you and your party are intellectually and morally bankrupt. It's time for you to go, and you know it.
I should like to formally request a dissolution of Parliament in preparation for a general election.
Granted.
Why are you doing this? What can possibly be in it for you?
You really don't understand, do you? I do believe you're frightened of me, Mr. Urquhart.
You believe that if it gives you any comfort, sir.
Is the Britain that we want. Francis Urquhart's government has seemed secure against any assault. But now, with another election imminent, all this may be changing. A new and some would have thought highly unlikely figure has emerged as the unofficial leader of the opposition. In a year when the royal family has been once again rocked by scandal and controversy, the king himself has emerged as a powerful and effective critic of Francis Urquhart's hardline policies.
I don't want to rule over a country. I don't want to live in a country in which people don't care about each other. Things are going to have to change. I want to be part of that change. Let us begin to make that change now.
And things are changing, it seems. So much so that the opinion polls are reporting a 13% swing against the government and a very high level of support for the views expressed by His Majesty.
Thank you.
Well, Clyde, it's absolutely bloody outrageous this close to an election. We should have taken away your license years ago.
We believe it's very fair reporting of the facts, Mr. Stamper, and we'd like to include an interview with the Prime Minister. Live and at length.
I wouldn't be tempted, sir, framed as it would be with a biased introduction and probably cut throughout with shots of junkies and beggars and riots and God knows what.
Exactly. Wouldn't touch it with a barge pole.
You can have our written guarantee that the interview would be live and uninterrupted by anything whatsoever.
Or followed by anything. The end of the interview would be the end of the programme.
All right.
We'll have that in writing today.
Yes, of course. Naturally.
And who else? Stroud?
In a separate interview, we thought.
And His Majesty?
His Majesty declined.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Who would interview the Prime Minister?
Harvey, naturally. He is the senior man. People would expect it.
We think it should be Hannah Milton.
No. Out of the question, really. I'm sorry.
Well, then I'd have to advise the Prime Minister to withdraw. Tim?
Absolutely. Wouldn't touch it with a barge pole.
You do need me, you know. Otherwise, you haven't really got a program, have you?
True, sir. But if I may say so, your need at this present moment is even greater than ours, isn't it?
Now, look here.
Sarah, he's right. We all know it.
Jim Portman?
Done. Thank you, Michael. Things are not going well for us. 17 days to the election, 13 points behind. We may yet turn it, but it's going to be a damned close-run thing. It's not as easy as any of us thought it, to fight a king. But I will not let him conquer me. Nothing will prize me loose. I am ready to do anything.
Am I still the man who did that thing?
Francis?
I summon up remembrance of things past. They can't win, can they?
It's unimaginable, Francis. We simply won't permit it.
I like the things you say, Elizabeth.
I'm very glad to hear it. Corder wants to see you.
Corder, excellent. A wondrous, necessary man, Corder.
I find him so.
Corder. Not inconvenient, I hope, sir.
Not at all.
You might remember a little while ago you were asking me to...
Good God, what was that?
I don't know. There wasn't any warning. It's not one of ours. I'll find out. Excuse me.
Events. The politician's greatest enemy, they say. Plan till you're blue in the face, then things just happen. Events take over. Not terrorists this time, it seems. An accident. A gas explosion in a run-down block of council flats. That's all. So why the rush, you're asking? What's all the fuss about? You know what it's about. Every disaster is a photo opportunity in disguise, playing right into the hands of the king.
To be plunged like this into random, inexplicable tragedies.
Not really random, sir. Not really so inexplicable. These are the people who've been left to rot. The people who couldn't afford to buy their council flats. The people who couldn't afford to pay the gas bill. Coolboothia House was a disaster that's been waiting to happen.
Oh, for God's sake, Chloe, excuse me, sir, but you're not seriously suggesting we should come out with a lot of windy mocks
It is not
rubbish like
windy
that when we
mocks.
get
It's
there.
rubbish. It is the simple truth.
Sir.
Why are you so terrified of politics, David?
I very, very seriously urge you, sir, not to take that line or anything like it when you speak to the press.
No, bloody well, shut up, the pair of you. No, not another word. I have no intention of speaking to the press or indeed to anybody apart from the victims of this bloody disaster. To let them know that somebody cares about them.
I'm extremely impressed by the way the emergency services have reacted to this terrible accident. I think the best thing we can do now is stay out of their way and make their very difficult and hazardous task as easy as we can, don't you?
No, he just wants to talk to the survivors. He's very upset by this awful accident.
Dave, what's all this about you and John Staines?
What?
There's a rumour you're getting called as a witness.
No, that's absolute nonsense. I hardly know John Staines. You must have got your wires crossed.
Yeah, right. Sorry, Dave, you know these stories. You have broken up with a wife, though, haven't you?
Your Majesty.
Prime Minister.
We could have done without this public posturing.
I came to comfort my people, that's all.
I'm sure they're thrilled to bits, sir. Pat a few heads by all means if it makes you happy, but no public statements, please. We don't want you making mischief out of this now, do we?
Damn you, man. Don't judge me by your own degraded standards. You may want to make political capital out of personal tragedy. All I want to do is help.
You bloody hypocrite.
Careful! I've got it! Please let me help.
HM and PM in compassion brawl. Rather nicely put, don't you think so, Francis?
Yes, very witty.
I thought so. Oh, look at this one. He's behind you, Your Majesty. Oh, look, Francis. There you are like the demon king. Government policy blamed as 70 die in tower block disaster. Now, that's not so good.
Events. These things will pass.
We should control events, Francis, not be blown about by them. You've been altogether too lax with that fool from the palace, and now he's still in a march on you. Please let me help. I think it's time to stop fooling around and to start inflicting some serious damage, starting with His Majesty.
All in good time, Elizabeth. When we've won the election, we can do what we like with him.
But we have to win it first.
But you said not to win was unimaginable.
Then we must make it unimaginable.
Well, we shall.
Good.
Look, don't change the subject. I'm serious. The press are onto us. Must have been Staines.
You mean onto us? We're not criminals, for God's sake.
What are you saying? You're ashamed of this, or what?
HM's in a very exposed position at the moment. Anything that Urquhart could use to damage him, he will. And I'm just about his oldest and closest friend. Think what the tabloids could do with that. I think I'd better move out. All I'm asking is, can't we be discreet till after the election?
You said you loved me. You remember saying that? You said that I changed your life and nothing would ever be the same again.
I know. I meant it.
Well, don't you bloody well forget it. Look, I've got to be going. I'll be back on Wednesday. We can talk about it then. And you just better be here.
David, Mycroft. Well, well, well. I suppose if you turn somebody like Johnny Staines upside down and shake him, all sorts of things are going to fall out.
No, not now, Judith. Shut the doors, please. Yes, indeed. But I must say, Tim, I am very, very surprised.
There's a security angle there, so long as he makes a secret of it. And it raises other questions, too. King's best friend, a shirtlifter. How low can palace morals sink, and so on.
But we wouldn't stoop to that, would we?
Unfortunately, the press are onto it, Francis.
Really? How did they find out?
I think some heartless bastard must have leaked it.
Well, I'm sure they'll be discreet. Anything else? I do have another meeting, unfortunately.
Yes, there was something I wanted to ask you, Effie. After the election, what do I get?
After the election? Could I just remind you, Tim, that we have yet to win the election? Is it insensitive of me to point out that you are party chairman and we are trailing by 13 points? Do you think this is the best time to be asking me what you get after the election?
I'd like to know what you have in mind, though, all the same.
Would you? Well, I thought Chief Whip again. After all, it's what you're best at, isn't it?
You led me to expect that it would be a senior cabinet post. You led me to expect Home Secretary.
Well, perhaps it will be. But you're such a brilliant frightener, Tim. You'd be wasted in one of those kid glove jobs.
Has it ever occurred to you that you presume too much?
Not in your case, Tim. I think I know you rather well, don't you?
Mrs. Harvey.
Why don't you call me Sarah?
I suppose I feel I don't know you well enough.
We don't have to be enemies, Tim. I'm not going to be here for long.
Aren't you? What were you looking for just then?
Well, actually, I was looking to see if there was a file on Mattie Storrin. Did you know her at all?
I knew her, yes.
Yes, well, I came across some stuff she wrote, and I was interested in her.
I know why you're interested in her.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
So, what can you tell me?
Who are you working for?
What do you mean? I work for Francis, Mr. Urquhart.
And who else?
No one. Myself. I'm a freelance.
Francis Urquhart has had my total loyalty for 30 years.
He has my total loyalty. I'm in love with him.
Are you? I wonder if you know the meaning of the word.
Look, it's just silly, you know. Personal. Embarrassing. You won't tell him, will you?
I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. But you'll find out, one way or the other.
Lady Isabel, how nice to see you again.
thank you. I love it here. Such a feeling of brightness, lightness, youth. It even smells differently. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself unto our gentle senses and so on. Quite delightful.
Come in.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi. How are you anyway?
I'm very well, thank you, ma'am. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you, Mr. Urquhart. But I am a bit pissed off.
Oh, dear.
Are you letting him get the better of you?
Life has its ups and downs, ma'am. We do have one or two aces up our sleeves. How is your son?
He's fine. He's lovely.
Plenty of hugs.
Oh, yes.
Things may resolve themselves sooner than anyone expects. I hope and believe that they will resolve themselves in your favor. Whether they do or not, you will need help and advice and protection, too, from a trusted and powerful source. It is sometimes possible for a young person with apparently limitless choice to underestimate qualities like experience and a deep knowledge of the world and its ways and the rewards that they can bring.
I know why you're interested.
I think he killed her, you see. We know he killed O'Neill.
Francis Urquhart has had my total loyalty for 30 years.
They'll probably kill you too, no?
That's the one. That's all lovely, Joe. Good evening, Mrs. Harding. I'm sorry about all this. Come in.
I can't bear to be the object of your suspicion. I trusted you, Mattie. Why couldn't you trust me?
I wanted to. I still want to.
Do you, Mattie?
I love you.
Tell me properly. Call me Daddy.
I love you, Daddy. I just want to know.
What?
Did you kill Roger O'Neill?
Yes.
How?
Rat poison. He had to be put down. It was an act of mercy. He's at peace now. Nothing more to fear. Mattie. Can I trust you?
You know you can.
Oh, Mattie. It gives me such pain to say this. But I don't believe you. I don't believe I can trust you.
She hits the van. She slides down slowly. Someone picks up the cassette. Not me. One of my chaps. Nobody knows what's on it, except you, me. FU doesn't even know it exists.
How do I know it's not a fake or doctored?
You know.
Why me? Why did you want me to know?
All I wanted was to serve him. To be close to him. That's all. But I see now what I should have seen all along. I was always entirely instrumental to him. Disposable. Like one of those little plastic razors they have now. Apparently you can get a few good shaves from them and then you throw them away. Look, I didn't put you through all this just to upset you. Though that was certainly an incidental pleasure. I need someone else to know. I've made you a copy of the tape. Just in case something happens to me.
What are you going to do now?
I haven't quite made up my mind here.
Urquhart's been to Sloane Castle again. They must be working out some sort of deal. She's a fool.
I just wish it all worked out a little differently.
It wasn't your fault, all of that. She wasn't up to it. She wasn't up to you. I'm tired of pretending. You can always slap me if you don't like what I say.
Have your bleeding head chopped off, mate.
Have you ever thought you might be doing that the wrong way? Bashing away at it like that? Maybe if you tried it a bit more slowly.
Oh, do you think...
It's all right, don't worry. Look, what I really came in to tell you, I have it on very good authority we could be in for a new crop of riots any time now.
Where?
Leeds, Cardiff, Newcastle, Bristol, Oxford. What I suggest is tour these places. Show your face. Let the people see you. Let them see that you're on their side. You won't have to make any speeches. You won't have to give any interviews. There won't be anything that Urquhart could object to. It'll just be like when you went to the gas explosion, but on a bigger scale. John Stroud can make the speeches. We'll tell him where you're going, and he can synchronise. It'll be brilliant. Please let me help. The nationwide tour. Oh, you have to do it. You have to go on. You cannot stop now.
What does David Mycroft say?
He says no, it's too risky. But if you listen to him, you'd never do anything, would you?
I'll do it, Claire.
You won't regret it, you know. You always do best when you go with your instincts.
Yes, I don't always find that awfully easy, do I?
You will. Practice. I'm sorry. Is it all right for me to say that?
Yes, yes it is.
Is it all right if I do this?
Oh, that's very good. You're quite sure?
Yes, it's all there. He was bypassing the meter and he blew the whole block up.
Hoist with his own petard. Excellent. And the rest. This is all invaluable stuff, Sarah. I'm most grateful to you.
Glad you're pleased. Any competent researcher could have done that.
But I wanted you to do it.
Thank you. Look, you won't mind if I don't stay with you tonight, will you?
What is it? What's the matter?
Nothing dramatic. I just have so many things to catch up with. I do have another life, you know. I did have another life.
I mind very much, Sarah. I need you with me this evening.
All right.
Something's happened, hasn't it? What is it? You're not getting bored with me, are you?
No, God, no. We did say, didn't we, that it wouldn't be a lifetime thing. Nothing lasts forever.
You said you'd leave me when you had learned everything I had to teach you. Are you telling me that time has come?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Seven, 6, 5, 4.
Images of Urquhart's Britain, the Newham gas explosion.
Doesn't that rather sum things up, Prime Minister? A decaying and neglected tower block in the inner city crumbles and disintegrates, unable to withstand the blast, while a laissez-faire government stands idly by.
Absolute nonsense.
Is it? The King's doing what he can to help, while the Prime Minister looks on, unmoved. Every picture tells a story. Isn't this a symbol of everything that's wrong with society today?
You might think that. You might very well think that. Something is very wrong.
So you're admitting responsibility then, are you? In that case, don't you think it's time that you step down?
I admit nothing of the kind. The unfortunate victims of the Newham disaster died as a result of reckless greed and irresponsibility. A fourth-floor tenant who was disinclined to pay his gas bill decided to bypass the meter and tap directly into the main. He made a botch of it and succeeded in killing or maiming 72 of his friends and neighbors. End of story.
You don't think that the deep divisions in society are even partly to blame? You're quite happy with the way things are?
Indeed, I am not. There is a deep division in society today between those who want to work and enjoy the fruits of their labors and abide by and uphold the laws of the land, and an increasing number of what it has become fashionable to call the disaffected, the disadvantaged, the differently motivated, what we used to call lazy people, dishonest people, people who don't want to take responsibility for their actions or their lives.
So you don't feel inclined to do anything about the situation?
On the contrary, I've decided that the time has come to take quite drastic action. We're going to bring back national service as the first step in a large-scale program of public works. We're going to get our young people, all our young people, off their backsides. We're going to put a large investment into Britain's future, and we're damn well going to get our money's worth.
But what you're talking about is universal conscription in peacetime.
Listen, it can't be right that young people in the very prime and flower of youth should spend half the day loafing in bed and the rest selling each other drugs and stealing from each other. Let's give our young people a chance to learn self-discipline again, a chance to feel proud of themselves and walk tall.
But this is a complete
I have
departure.
a great belief in Britain, you know. We are not a nation of social workers or clients of social workers. We are not, please God, a nation of deserving cases. We are a fierce, proud nation, and we are still, God willing, a nation to be reckoned with.
You were brilliant tonight.
Thanks to your briefing, I simply added a few grace notes, like the little references to God. We are, please God, a nation of very fierce, bad rabbits.
Fierce bad rabbits?
Beatrix Potter, a major influence on my prose style. There. Now you know all my secrets. What's the matter, Sarah?
Nothing. I suppose I was just thinking that I'll never know all your secrets.
Oh, but then perhaps that's as it should be. I'm sure I don't know all of yours. Sarah, I thought I detected a sudden reluctance earlier this evening. Perhaps reluctance is too strong a word.
I worry about Andrew. I don't want to lose him. He's a good friend.
Of course. We talk about freedom so much, don't we? But none of us really believes in it.
I do.
Yes, perhaps you do. But most people don't want it at all. Most people are weak and stupid and cowardly and contemptible. You see, the great beauty of conscription is that we'll be able to use the 18 to 23-year-olds to subdue their younger brothers in the inner cities and on those ghastly estates. And then we can think about exporting them. Use the British fighting man to redress the balance of trade.
You really mean that, don't you?
Oh, why not? After all, nobody wants these young people. Not even their own parents. They have no skills. They have no education. They have no self-discipline. They're utterly useless. Well, we are going to make them useful, Sarah. Like factory farming.
What's the matter? Sarah, I can't bear it when you shrink from me. I need your intelligence. You haven't changed, have you? I can trust you, can't I, Sarah?
Yes, you can. You know you can.
It's a gigantic confidence trick, this national service nonsense, but he's captured the initiative with only 6 days to go.
Well, we'll do our best. Look, I've decided to spend 3 days touring some of the most deprived areas. St. Paul's, Handsworth, Moss Side. I'm forbidden to speak, but I can at least be seen to listen, and that's what these people need to be listened to, not forced in the uniforms, marched about and bullied. I'm talking about the 24-hour days. I want to eat with these people or go hungry with them. Perhaps I'll challenge the press to do the same. What do you think?
Well, sir, it'll be hard to say you're not aligning yourself politically in the clearest way.
Well, if people insist on seeing it as a political act, then let them.
Sir.
David, this is not just a challenge to Francis Urquhart, though God knows he needs to be stopped in his tracks. It's a challenge to myself. I need to know who I am, need to know what I can do. Does it make sense to you at all?
Yes. Yes, it does, sir.
Well, best of luck to us all, then.
Leave it. Tell the sod off.
Yes.
David, Bill Rochester from the Clarion. Sorry to post so late.
How did you get this number?
Oh, friend of a friend. I thought I ought to tell you, you're about to become a bit of a celebrity in your own right. I'm sure you know why. I'd like you to consider giving me an exclusive. I wouldn't mess you about, David. You'd get a really sympathetic angle. As you probably know, I'm gay myself.
David? Sorry, no comment.
Yes, of course. Please take as many pictures as you like, but no interviews. His Majesty's come to talk to the people who live here. Now, he's very happy for you to get as close as you like, but we are relying on your cooperation. There's no formal security here, as you can see.
No security? Is that why?
He trusts the people. He doesn't want any barriers.
Good one, David.
So very sorry. Something won't be done. So distressing, David.
Well, I'm sure you made a difference to them.
Look, I think I ought to travel on the bus thing with everybody else.
I shouldn't, sir. You won't get a moment's peace.
I'm not here for a rescue, David. The poor woman.
David! Phil Rochester, we spoke on the phone.
Not now. Take the car, sir. Believe me, it's best.
I identify myself entirely with what the king is doing. I think we should thank God we have a king who cares about his people and is willing to show it. Every caring person knows a change is coming. The king is showing us the way. All we need to do now is to vote for what we know in our hearts to be right. A new start under a new government.
John Stroud speaking there.
It's really very well managed.
Rather too well managed. I think you should do something, Francis.
I think so, too. Corder?
Accident of some sort. Riot. Explosion. Small bomb. Minor injuries, IRA code word, all the usual Provo hallmarks. We could lay that on at 90 minutes' notice.
No, not this time. I was thinking more of something like a happening.
Bit of street theatre. With a happy ending.
And a moral, of course.
arriving in Manchester, where His Majesty has an engagement at the mosque side. My colleague, Miss Carmichael, will be looking after you there. Before I bow out, though, there's something I'd like to say. I have decided to resign today from my post as press secretary to the King. I think that some of you may have already guessed the reason. I'm a homosexual. Now, I had hoped that my private life might remain just that, but that's no longer the case. In any case, I don't want to hide anything. So, there we are, chaps.
Well, why resign? Why not carry on? Why should being gay be a bar to you doing your work?
Yes, I know what you're saying, and I thought hard about it, but, well, it's not really odd, is it? Not really. I mean, I'm supposed to be a channel for news, not the target of gossip. Maybe one day it'll be possible. I hope so.
Why did you hide it all this time, then?
I didn't. It wasn't until my marriage broke up recently that I realized that was the path I wanted to take. That's all. No heroics. And no regrets either. And no more questions. And if you can't make something out of that, you're not the men and women I take you for.
And then Mr. Patel. Thank you. This way, Your Majesty.
This is the community centre that the tenants built and run themselves.
No, man, no. We change our plan. We're going this way. This way. Come on. Quick.
Who are these people?
I don't know. I thought they were with you.
Today confirmed that he had personally authorised the presence of a selected squad from the parachute regiment, which had been secretly shadowing the royal tour throughout. He spoke to John Saki this afternoon.
I'm just delighted that the whole incident passed off without any serious injury. And particularly delighted, of course, that His Majesty is safe and well.
But this raises the question, does it not? Whether the King was misguided in embarking on a meet-the-people tour without any of the usual security precautions? Heart of gold, but not safe to be let out on his own? Would that be a fair comment, Prime Minister?
You might say that, Mr. Saki. I couldn't possibly say that. I have far too much respect for His Majesty to say anything of the sort.
And on the eve of the election, the polls are showing Francis Urquhart inching into the lead again. The latest opinion poll shows a clear majority for the Conservatives.
Hello.
We need to talk.
Yes? Not on the phone. Can you come round?
Same place. You remember the address?
Yes. Don't say it. Just come. I'll be there. I wanted you to know I've made my mind up. I'm taking the tape to the police. To the ordinary CID. They're quite straight at the moment, believe it or not. Not immediately, but as soon as the result of the election is beyond doubt. Well, it's hard to get down in history as the man who lost us the election now, could I?
So, we win the election, you force Urquhart's resignation. It's his job you want, isn't it?
Yes, I want his job. I have my own ideas about the way this country should be governed.
And you can be a part of them. I think you understand me.
What do you want me to do?
Nothing. Do nothing.
Do nothing?
Till the election. Tomorrow. Just one day. Just stay calm. And smile. And watch him come down.
Yes. Yes. Well, perhaps you were right all along. Thank you, Corder. Francis? I'm sorry to disturb you, but we've had some very distressing news.
Stamper? Stamper has a tape? A tape of what?
Apparently, Mattie Storin was recording the conversation on the roof terrace before she fell.
And Stamper acquired the tape and held it all this time.
Waiting to use it against you.
No, he wanted to serve me. I pushed him too far. I treated him with contempt because it pleased me, because that's the way it works. If I treated him better, I would be safe now.
You can be safe still.
But he's told the girl. Why did he do that? Why? Why would he have told her of all people?
Because he wanted insurance. Because he wanted to hurt her. Because he doesn't care if she lives or dies. What does it matter? Listen to me. You can be safe still.
Both of them?
You must. You know you must.
That lovely, intricate brain. You chose her, Elizabeth. You chose her for me.
You must. I know it hurts, but the country's need is greater than their need.
Yes.
Can it be organized in time?
Oh, yes. The means have always been in place. All that's required is to spring the trap. I am in blood steeped in so far. Have Corder come round at once. I'll give him his orders. Then you'll go down to the constituency.
This way, please. This way.
Ready? And it's gone.
And now we're going live to Billericay.
As returning officer for Billericay, I declare that the votes cast are as follows. Edgar Anderson, 41,642. Helen Holmes,
Labour,
33,016.
Government holding with a decreased majority in line with the late swing predicted at the exit polls, which should see the government back in office with a small but workable majority.
George Lionel Vavasor, 22,732. Andrew Phillips,
Liberal Democrat,
19,420.
and that's another gain for the government.
this time at the expense of the Liberal Democrats.
And the news this morning, for those of you who haven't been up all night, is that Francis Urquhart is back with a projected majority of 22 seats. John Stroud conceded defeat at 3 o'clock this morning.
I did say I'd leave when I felt I'd learned as much as I could from you.
And you have you?
I think so, yes.
And what about me? Is my education over too?
No, I think you still have a little more to learn after I've gone. Try to understand. Do you remember me saying that I wouldn't do anything to endanger my marriage?
Yes.
Well, I did. I nearly destroyed it.
But not quite.
No, not quite. I'm sorry, Francis.
Do you care that much, Sarah?
Yes. Yes, I do. Oddly enough. I never thought I could feel so much for anyone.
Nor I. Nor I.
After Mattie.
Oh, Sarah. Sarah. How many times? What we have. What we have had is unique.
Yes. Goodbye, Francis.
Chloe Carmichael?
We haven't met. I'm Sarah Harding. Please listen. I think you're someone I can trust, and I think you know how to make things happen. Now, I've got something I want to give you. It could change everything.
Thank you. Thank you all so very much.
What about the king, Mr. Urquhart? What's going to happen to the king? Mr. Urquhart? Mr. Urquhart?
And Mr. Urquhart leaves for Buckingham Palace for what might be an interesting meeting. It's no secret that the king has become strongly identified in many people's minds with the opposition, and now his own future has become a matter for speculation.
Congratulations, Mr. Urquhart.
Thank you, sir. I was expecting you might want to dispense with such niceties.
Oh, by all means. I'm heartily sorry you're still Prime Minister, but I'm not in the least downhearted. The tide has turned against you, and I'm very glad to have played my part in that. I think you'll be out before the end of the year, Mr. Urquhart, and Britain will be all the better for it.
Your opinions, sir, are no longer of any interest to anyone but yourself. You have risked everything in opposing me, and you have lost. I have come here to demand your abdication from the throne.
The people won't back you, Urquhart.
I shan't need to consult them again, sir. They have re-elected me. And I cannot and I will not tolerate a monarch who is bitterly and publicly opposed to me. You must abdicate, sir. It is the only honorable course. You must see that.
Oh, well, I don't think you're in any position to speak of honorable courses. I'll continue to oppose you openly and publicly while I remain on the throne. And if I am forced to relinquish the throne, then I shall continue to fight you as a commoner. I shall welcome the opportunity, and I shall take very keen pleasure in defeating you in the polls.
I wouldn't bet on it, sir. I'm afraid you won't be of much interest as a commoner. I doubt if anyone will be particularly interested in what you have to say. You have no constituency, you see, no power base. You represent nothing but one talentless and discredited family. And very soon you won't represent even that. You will represent nothing. You will mean nothing. You will be nothing.
Well, we'll see. I've spent my whole life preparing to be king.
I feel no compunction, sir. You tried to destroy me.
No, I didn't want to destroy a man. You wanted to destroy the monarchy.
Not at all, sir. Don't you understand what I'm telling you? I have no wish to. It is you I want to destroy, not the monarchy. My family came south with James I. We were defenders of the English throne before your family was ever heard of. It is to preserve the ideal of a constitutional monarchy that I now demand your abdication.
You're a monster, Urquhart.
You might very well think that, sir. But your opinion doesn't count for very much now, does it? Good day, sir.
Two of the Prime Minister's closest aides died today in separate terrorist atrocities. Mr. Tim Stamper, the chairman of the Conservative Party, and Mrs. Sarah Harding, the political and media consultant, were the victims of car bombs in central London. There were other casualties, and the police say that they were deliberately targeted. Special Branch confirmed that the attacks bore all the hallmarks of the provisional IRA.
Well, what would you have? Britain must be governed, and you know who will do it best. If you will the end, you must will the means. These things happen all over the world. Believe me, it's all for the best. What's the matter? You do trust me, don't you? Of course you do.